Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening. After all, she knew that as long as Akiko mentioned Makoto's name at home every day, her smile would grow noticeably brighter. Itsuki, what's wrong? Akiko had also noticed her sister's unusual behavior. Nothing at all. Itsuki shook her head guiltily. If she didn't act this way, it would be fine. But once she showed signs of guilt, Akiko immediately became suspicious. You're acting weird. Itsuki awkwardly avoided her sister's gaze. Akiko recalled how Itsuki had recently taken the initiative to get closer to Makoto, and casually asked, "Have you been meeting Makoto in private recently? It seems like you two are closer than before." "We're just friends." Itsuki blurted out instinctively, her body tense. Coincidentally, Yukino had said the exact same thing. And the person Yukino was talking to was also Akiko. "I'm just asking casually, why are you so nervous?" Akiko used her usual teasing tone. But inside, her alarm bells were ringing loudly at that moment. What did this mean? First it was Nino, now Itsuki? Why did it feel like all her sisters had spies? "I'm not nervous." Itsuki hurried to answer. She even repeated, "Really, I'm not." Akiko smiled warmly at her. "I know." She recalled something she had read online. Some people, once missed, are lost for a lifetime. Others, once met, will sacrifice themselves. Now, whether it was Nino or Itsuki, she had that feeling. If she didn't seize the chance, she might be the one sacrificed. Thinking of this, she decided that the next time she went to Makoto's house, she would have to demonstrate the cucumber sage's special skill. After all, she had practiced for several nights, her hands should be quite nimble by now. At that moment, Itsuki's voice came from beside her. "Akiko, you like Makoto, don't you?" Akiko was stunned for a moment, then turned her head with a bright smile. "Why would you ask that?" "Just curious." Itsuki replied calmly. Akiko laughed. "If you want to find out my secret, you have to trade your own secret." "You're at it again. Really, every time you mention your relationship with him, you always try to fool us." "Can't help it, it's my secret. If I don't exchange secrets, I won't just reveal it." After the tropic ended, Itsuki pretended to look at her phone, relieved inside thinking, "I think I got away with it." Akiko at this moment thought, she thinks she got away with it. Chapter 63, Buy a house in your heart. When Makoto found Hayato, the latter was hanging out with friends looking at game cartridges. Taking the chance while greeting everyone, he glanced around and found that among Hayato's friends today, there was only one from their class. "You have quite a wide circle of friends," Makoto commented. Hayato smiled and explained, "I wasn't planning to come out today, but my friends wanted to play games online together, so I came along to keep them company." Makoto sized up this warm and handsome guy. "You're a popular guy and also a skilled gamer?" Hayato was clearly good at keeping conversations going, and lowered his voice. "What do you think about the Launch series?" Makoto was surprised. "Too old." "Then how about the Rhapsody series?" "Wait, you know that too?" After a brief exchange, Makoto and Hayato reached an agreement. Calling them kindred spirits might not be exactly right, but Hayato could get along with anyone at school. Even if he wasn't into these games, he would probably take the time to learn about them. Only this way could he remain everyone's Hayato. "You just finished club activities, right?" "I also just left the soccer club not long ago," Hayato casually asked. Makoto nodded. Hayato said, "No wonder you only came to find me now. If you'd come earlier, we could have gone to look at game cartridges together." Makoto, "No choice, I went to the Sakura party this morning." If other guys heard this, they'd either tease him with a smile or turn to their friends laughing. But Hayato stared blankly at Makoto. "Why didn't you invite me to the Sakura party?" He kept the mood light by dragging himself down, maintaining a pleasant atmosphere. Makoto laughed. "How come it feels like you can respond to any topic?" "No way, there are many things I'm not good at too." Hayato waved his hand. After chatting casually, Makoto brought up the main topic. An extra role? If you don't mind that, I've never acted before, I can come help anytime. Hayato agreed without hesitation. To him, helping friends was the right thing to do. Especially since it was Makoto, someone he cared about. He even offered some ideas. Your short film roles probably aren't all the same age, right? If you need actors of different ages, I can ask my family to help find extras. As he spoke, he showed a rare excited expression. Honestly, this is the first time I've heard of high school students making short films. If you can complete it smoothly, I think your club will become famous at school. Whether or not we get famous doesn't matter. Our club is just for everyone to practice. Makoto said. Hayato didn't ask what kind of practice he meant. At that moment, Makoto saw the classmates who had finished picking out their items walking over. He quickly said, "Cooperate with me later, and don't ask questions if you don't understand." Huh? Hayato didn't understand. Fushimi, what are you guys talking about? The classmates who had bought game cartridges came over to ask. Makoto hesitated, then said, "I'm talking about a big secret with Hayama, but I'm conflicted about whether to tell you." A big secret? Several male classmates instantly perked up. What kind of secret? Makoto continued hesitating, then seemed to make a decision. It's about the principal. Never mind, since you're Hayama's friends, I guess it's okay to tell you. Then he emphasized, don't tell anyone else. No problem. They quickly promised. Hayato looked confused. Because Makoto had warned him earlier, and now he could guess the other was probably acting. Most importantly, Makoto wasn't close to these classmates. In this case, when Fushimi said don't tell anyone, it actually meant they would definitely spread the word. So, was Fushimi trying to use these classmates to spread some news? Hayato thought. Makoto mysteriously shared the story of the principal participating in a marathon years ago, deliberately blurring the principal's ranking, only saying the other participants were all national-level experts and that the principal had achieved a good placement. Everyone, including Hayato, looked surprised. Makoto repeated, I've never told this secret to anyone before, so you must keep it confidential. Don't worry, our lips are sealed. But I really didn't expect the principal, looking chubby now, to have been a national-level marathon runner back then. Yeah, I couldn't tell at all. If this gets out, I bet everyone will think like us. Oh sorry, Fushimi, I'm just giving an example, I'll keep it a secret. After successfully spreading the news, Makoto took out his phone and showed the information of the runners who had competed with the principal. Back then, these runners were not famous, but now many have achieved results. Under Makoto's explanation, everyone was amazed again. A group of boys gathered together. Aside from fooling around and talking about politics online, the thing that most caught their attention was gossip about people they knew. If it was gossip about the principal, their leader, they would be even more interested. But that alone wasn't enough. To get all the students' attention, this news had to appear online. Everyone would see the principal's news online, then discuss it with friends at school, making the spread truly rapid. When Makoto parted with Hayato, the latter curiously asked, were you deliberately spreading the news just now? Yes. Makoto didn't hide it. Hayato nodded knowingly, I'll help too, but what's your goal in doing this? Remember last time you said someone at school was spreading rumors about me and Kasumijoka Utaha? I get it. Using rumors to fight rumors, that really is a clever method. Monday arrived. The rumor that started from Makoto gradually spread throughout the entire school. Only that as it spread, in everyone's mouth it became, our principal once stood at the top of marathon running, he ruled that track. Besides Hayato helping spread the news, the classmates who bought game cartridges couldn't keep it in, and eventually told their friends, I'm telling you a secret, but don't tell anyone else. By noon, some people had seen the urgent video Makoto had made. With online and friend circulation, the news immediately went viral. At lunch, Utaha heard from friends, did you hear? Our principal apparently used to participate in national-level marathons. Someone nearby corrected, no, I heard it was a world-class competition. Should be at least Asian level. Utaha watched her classmates argue and suddenly thought of someone. Was he really that efficient? Utaha suddenly wanted to meet him. The better he performed, the more it proved her own good judgment. Besides, she really wants to maintain this friendly relationship with Makoto. Keep it going, keep paying attention. Her thought translated would be, I will always support you, forever. Chapter 64, Buy a House in Your Heart, 2. It was on this day that everyone noticed the school principal, rumored to be the protagonist, seemed to have something good happening. He smiled all day long and greeted classmates warmly wherever he went. The students who eagerly spread gossip wondered, did the principal even hear the rumors at school? Why is he in such a good mood? Only Makoto knew what the principal was thinking, my most glorious moment has finally been known by everyone. In the afternoon club activities, Makoto received news from Hayato. The latter had already helped contact extras, and since they were all minor roles, the prices were very low. With this, the cast was completely finalized. In the club, apart from the protagonist Ikika, only Makoto would act as supporting roles. I heard a very strange piece of news today. In the club room, Ikika propped her chin on her hand, curiously looking at Makoto. Nearby, Yukino also looked up. I heard it too. She was more straightforward and asked Makoto. Many people are saying that the principal was once a top league marathon runner. It seems this rumor started spreading from your class. Itsuki defended Makoto. It definitely wasn't Makoto who spread it. He was basically reading all morning, or chatting with me. Itsuki, do you want to listen to what you're saying? Are you paying a little too much attention to Makoto? Ikika immediately glanced over. Yukino's beautiful eyes were still fixed on Makoto. Is that true? Makoto said, looks like I need to clarify. This rumor did not start from my class. The girls nodded, looks like it really is a rumor. But then Makoto said, the person who started spreading the news in the first place was actually me. The girls. Near dismissal time, it started to rain outside, and the temperature dropped quite a bit. Makoto hadn't brought an umbrella. Since he wasn't in a hurry to go home, he simply watched the rain downstairs. Before he crossed over to this world, there was a lyric that had been very popular. The most beautiful thing isn't a rainy day, but the eaves where you once hid from the rain with someone. He thought with his current situation, the eaves to hide under probably couldn't fit that many people. Didn't you bring an umbrella? Suddenly, a pleasant female voice came from behind. Makoto turned and looked at Yukino holding an umbrella. Did you check the weather forecast in advance? Yukino said lightly, since you're good at Chinese, you should have heard the idiom, prepare for a rainy day before it comes. Are you trying to brag that you're more careful than me? Isn't that true? Yukino shook the umbrella in her hand. Rarely finding a chance to tease him, the girl definitely put some force into it. After all, this bastard had stolen her first kiss. But surprisingly, this time Makoto didn't argue back, but agreed, that's a good thing. You should keep it up. Yukino's face showed hesitation. You're acting a bit unusual. You're the one acting unusual. Makoto took out his phone and opened their chat history. Yukino's morning and goodnight messages stood out prominently. Look, in the past few times you sent greetings, you sometimes added an emoji, but you haven't done so in the last couple days. He sighed deliberately. Who's going to make up for my lack of cute emojis? Just as Yukino was about to reply, he cut in, there's one more thing that shows how unusual you are. For example? Yukino stayed calm. If you don't have anything to ask me, you never initiate chatting with me online, right? What kind of stupid question is that? Why would I reach out to you if I have nothing to talk about? Before Yukino finished, she froze. In the past, it was normal not to reach out when there was nothing important. But now it's different. He not only played with her legs but also occasionally played with her underwear when she got up. And kissed her. Twice. Can their relationship still be called just friends? Obviously not. They already kissed, yet rarely chat online. That's abnormal. Yukino actually understood that after school everyone went home separately, and she sometimes felt the urge to chat with him. But she didn't know how to start. Should she send a simple "Are you there?" Because Makoto always liked to joke, she remembered he once said, if you start chatting online with someone you like by saying "Are you there?" you're basically a clown. She thought that sentence was dumb. But thinking carefully, she really didn't know how else to start a chat except "Are you there?" Their relationship had become utterly ambiguous. I don't really like chatting online. Yukino finally gave a reluctantly reasonable answer. It's more that you're not good at it. Makoto smiled. Yukino pressed her lips and stayed silent. She really wasn't good at it. Nowadays students use all kinds of crazy emojis online, but she only had a few cute panda emojis. And she collected those specially. The only person who had ever received her emojis was Makoto. She actually wanted to know what he thought. For example, were her emojis really cute? Because she only sent them to him, shouldn't he give some feedback? But until now, she never said these words out loud. In summary, she was a little shy. At that moment, she heard Makoto say, I just remembered something. The few emojis you sent me seem to have duplicates. Yukino's expression didn't change, so? Makoto asked, do you only have these 4 panda emojis, or do you just like to use these? Yukino thought he was about to tease her again, and her beautiful eyes darkened. Before she could respond, he laughed. Honestly, these emojis are pretty cute, but still a bit worse than you. Yukino. At that moment, she felt her heart race a few beats. This guy never plays by the rules. He never gave feedback before when she was waiting for it. Now she thought he was about to argue, but suddenly he gave her a warm strike. Yukino turned around, opened the umbrella, and faced away from him, saying, "Thanks for the compliment, but if you want to praise me next time, remember to use fresh words because I'm already tired of the word cute." Makoto looked at her beautiful back. "Although you look cool when you argue back, your secretly shy look is really adorably awkward. Has this guy bought a house in my heart? Does he know me a little too well?" Yukino didn't move, her cheeks flushed. If this were cartoon style, she might shrink into a dried-up little sister figure from embarrassment and shyness. Chapter 65, Itsuki's mood begins to change. Yukino didn't leave immediately after opening her umbrella. Even though Makoto's teasing had made her shy. "How are you planning to go home?" she suddenly asked. Makoto stretched out his hand, feeling the cold raindrops hitting his palm. "You asked specially because you're allowing me to share your umbrella home?" Yukino's lips parted slowly as she smiled. "Do you think that's possible?" After speaking, she left without hesitation. Makoto wasn't in a hurry and patiently waited where he was. When Yukino's figure walked out the school gate, he indeed received a message from her. "Yukino, I can help you buy an umbrella, Makoto, no need to bother. Later I'll just borrow one from a friend. Ayama and the others probably haven't gone home yet, Yukino." Okay, that was just like her. Straightforward without dragging things out. Makoto was about to go check on the soccer club when 3 girls from the Nakano family appeared nearby. They were Akika, Itsuki, and Yotsuba, who was helping in the club. Akika saw Makoto standing alone and immediately looked surprised. She turned to Yotsuba and said, "Yotsuba, lend me your umbrella." Yotsuba looked confused. Among the 3 of them, only Akika hadn't brought an umbrella. But she obediently handed the umbrella over. Akika took the umbrella and smiled. "You go home with Itsuki. I'll go ahead." Wait, Akika. Yotsuba didn't have time to call her back before Akika happily walked over to Makoto with the umbrella. Only then did Yotsuba realize, so Akika is going home with Fushimi-kun. She then muttered to herself, are their relations really that good? Itsuki stared blankly at their departing figures. If she had gone first to give him an umbrella, would Akika have had the chance to act? No. How could she think like that? Itsuki suddenly realized. Since the club activity a few days ago, she had started to feel that something was off. For example, right now, seeing Makoto and Akika leave holding an umbrella together, she felt an uncomfortable feeling in her heart. "Itsuki, why do you seem weird?" Yotsuba reached out, waving her hand in front of Itsuki's eyes. "Sorry, I was distracted." Itsuki picked up her umbrella and smiled in response. "Let's head back too." Yotsuba hummed in agreement, walking shoulder to shoulder with Itsuki, muttering, "Akika clearly said earlier she would go home with us, but now she just left us behind." Itsuki didn't reply. Because she was feeling a bit upset again. On the other side, Akika was very happy. She enjoyed the feeling of walking home together with the boy she liked. And since it was raining today, that feeling was even more wonderful. "I got a role at that cafe last time. Although I only had 2 lines, and not even a close-up shot, I still stayed at the filming set for 2 days. Akika happily shared her interesting stories from the filming, pointing to the cafe by the roadside. Makoto glanced over accordingly. "So it's because they had to film the lead actor's scenes first, and you just waited around?" "I wasn't just doing nothing." Akika smiled, puffing out her chest a little proudly. "No matter which crew I'm with, whenever I have time, I always carefully observe the seniors' performances." Makoto nodded. No wonder she could become a top actress someday. At least on this path, she was working harder than anyone else. Because Makoto's attention was distracted, listening to Akika's casual chat all the way, he didn't notice the intersection on the left side. At this moment, a slender figure was watching over here. That person was Yukino. She didn't go straight home but decided to wait here for 10 minutes. If Makoto didn't come out within 10 minutes, she would return and reluctantly let that guy who liked to say silly things share her umbrella. Since the first kiss incident, her feelings had been in a state of contradiction. It was exactly this contradiction that made her seem a little awkward in some ways. She had firmly decided early on not to date Makoto, yet he had forcefully and decisively broken into her world. Like now, she said she wouldn't let Makoto share her umbrella, but after leaving, she still chose to wait nearby for a while. This was already the limit of her awkwardness. But at this moment, she saw Akika's figure again, and a feeling of displeasure rose in her heart once more. Coincidentally, Akika just turned her head. The eyes of the 2 girls met. Akika froze for a moment, then quickly showed a friendly smile. Yukino nodded slightly, as a response. Their eyes met only briefly. Then Yukino calmly left. Akika thought to herself, Yukino Shita and Makoto really don't have a friendship like it appears on the surface. If they were just ordinary friends, Would Yukino be deliberately waiting here? Even though Akiko hadn't seen the earlier conversation between the two, she was still sure that Yukino was definitely waiting for Makoto. This was a very bad sign. And it also brought a strong sense of crisis. In Akiko's eyes, Yukino was different from her own sisters. She was a strong rival. Smart and keen, powerful and confident. After parting from Makoto, as she walked home, she took out her phone and opened Yukino's chat window. Akiko, I don't have to film with the crew today. How about we meet up? 5 seconds later, Yukino replied, no, not the usual polite tone she used in conversations, but a short and simple no. Is she angry? Akiko pondered. In the following 2 days, Yukino still appeared calm and composed at school. But every day when she exchanged morning and evening greetings with Makoto, she added a panda smile emoji. Because of the influence of internet culture, Makoto always felt mocked when he saw the smiling emoji. But on second thought, Yukino probably didn't understand the sarcasm in smiles, so he let it go. One day after school, Makoto got Nakano Maruo's contact information from Mrs. Yukino Shida. He planned to meet Nakano Maruo in the next few days and help improve the distant relationship between the director and the 5 sisters. Mrs. Yukino Shida asked on the phone if she should help by preparing a dinner gathering. Makoto naturally declined. If the beautiful Mrs. Yukino Shida was present, his plan wouldn't go so smoothly. As for the music instructor he originally asked for, because of his qualified performance, the course had ended early. It's worth mentioning that Mayu had been practicing her speaking skills again these days. She always used that shy look but took the boldest actions. At home, just as Makoto plugged in the rice cooker, the doorbell suddenly rang. He looked through the peephole and found Itsuki standing outside. Sorry to bother you. When he opened the door, Itsuki's beautiful face came into view. The girl smiled politely, casually lifting the bag she was holding. Cookies, Nino specially made them. Makoto thanked her in puzzlement and reached out. Why this? Because she tried your cooking last time, and since you've been taking care of us at the club, Nino and I talked and felt you shouldn't be the only one giving, so we decided to come over today and bring something. Itsuki said with a slightly embarrassed smile, but when we were about to leave, Akiko called her away. It seems she's preparing to have dinner with her father this week. Isn't this a good opportunity? Makoto had an idea. He let Itsuki inside, curiously asking, by the way, since you and Nino are coming, if Akiko knew, she would definitely want to come too, right? Is he more concerned about Akiko than me and Nino? Itsuki controlled her expression. Maybe, but I'm going alone. I don't know if Akiko will come. When she said this, she found herself involuntarily recalling the scene of Akiko holding an umbrella that day. It would be better if Akiko and Nino didn't come today. A thought surprised even herself appeared in her heart. At this moment, Makoto's voice came. Since you're here, I'll add one more dish temporarily. Itsuki waved her hand. No need to trouble yourself, we still have to go home to eat later. Makoto rolled up his sleeves. I'm going to make meat buns. Itsuki quickly shut her mouth. Better if Akiko and Nino don't come after all, just me staying here is enough. Chapter 66. Nino, let's get started. Makoto wasn't joking when he said he was going to make meat buns. He actually knew how to make them, had ingredients at home, and since Itsuki, the meat bun fanatic, was here anyway, he decided to add an extra dish on the spot. As he tied on his apron and headed to the kitchen to knead the dough, Itsuki softly called from behind, Makoto. Makoto turned around. Their eyes met, and Itsuki suddenly blushed a little, shyly saying, it's nothing, just calling out. Makoto chuckled. That day at the club, when you secretly messaged me, I thought you were joking. I wasn't joking at all. Itsuki became even more embarrassed. But seeing that Makoto didn't tease her any further, she naturally accepted it and became happy. The secretly pleased Itsuki was really cute. To avoid making the girl feel awkward, Makoto withdrew his gaze and walked toward the kitchen. You sit in the living room for a bit. Making meat buns takes longer than cooking regular meals, but you'll definitely get to eat some tonight. Tonight? Itsuki caught the key word. She had never stayed over at a boy's house until the night before. Then she thought, Akiko and Nino should be coming over later anyway, so she didn't need to overthink it. 3 people eating meat buns together wasn't as fun as eating them alone. Eating alone is always more enjoyable. What Itsuki didn't realize was that her desire to eat meat buns alone actually represented a deeper feeling. She wanted to enjoy things by herself in some ways. She was just a bit slow to understand this emotion. Then again, if it weren't for the first love buff from her aura working on her, right now she'd probably only be thinking, I want to eat big bites of meat buns and get really full. Not long after, Itsuki received a message that Nino had already left. Nino also mentioned that Akiko wouldn't be coming today because as the eldest daughter, she had to arrange this week's dinner with their father. Itsuki couldn't help but imagine Akika wanting to come but unable to. The thought made her smile. Who told you to run off and walk home with him holding the umbrella that day? Everyone agreed to go together. Originally serious and obedient, Itsuki had unknowingly started to change. She absent-mindedly watched some TV in the living room but found it boring, so she got up and walked to the kitchen. Makoto, who was vigorously kneading the dough, heard footsteps behind him. He turned his head and saw Itsuki cutely poking her head in. Do you need help? No, just wait outside. Makoto said, then thought of something and asked, are you feeling lonely by yourself? Itsuki honestly admitted, yeah, I didn't know what to do sitting there. In that case, you can help me stir the meat and seasonings. Okay. Itsuki happily went to put on an apron. Judging by her reaction, she had clearly planned to help all along. The two of them busily worked in the kitchen, and Makoto casually brought up the rumors he had been spreading, and how some classmates verbally promised he'll definitely keep it a secret. Only to excitedly tell their friends right afterward. Itsuki listened with a big smile. I heard many versions today too. Even during lunch, classmates nearby were talking about it. Then she asked curiously, by the way, Makoto, why did you suddenly want to spread this rumor? Makoto didn't hide it, because someone at school was spreading rumors about me and Utaha. She specifically came to see me because she didn't want those rumors to affect our friendship, so she thought of a way to handle it. Itsuki's focus was somewhere else. Are you also close with Kasumijoka? What do you mean by also? Makoto asked deliberately. Itsuki's eyes flickered nervously. Classmates like Mira and Yuki Noshida. They all seem to have a good relationship with you. That just means I'm popular. Just popular? Think about it, Akika, Nino, and you. All of us have a good relationship. Well, that's true. Itsuki hesitated to say more. What she really wanted to say was, you're close to so many pretty girls, if you ever get a girlfriend, how will you handle all these friendships? But just thinking about the word girlfriend made her feel unhappy. So she didn't ask out loud. Makoto, sensing her hesitation, didn't press further and changed the topic. Itsuki, how's your relationship with Yukino? Huh? Yuki Noshida? Itsuki paused for a moment, then slowly said. We're okay. Even though the school is full of rumors saying she's difficult to get along with, whether in the clubroom or when I meet her casually, she's nothing like the rumors. Makoto smiled, looks like my impression was right. What do you mean? I told her before that among the 5 girls, you're the one who gets along with her the best. Makoto didn't wait for her to ask and explained, because your earnest and focused way of working is exactly the kind of character she admires most. Is that so? Itsuki blushed a little. Suddenly being praised made her happy. And it was her personality that was being praised. She recalled how she used to argue with her sisters at home, and sometimes they would say in frustration, stop pretending to be so obedient, I really can't stand it. Every time she heard things like that, she felt very hurt. Luckily, everyone would apologize and make up afterward. Thinking this way, she suddenly felt more motivated. If the first and second in the grade both acknowledged her, what was there to be confused about? After working for a while, Itsuki's phone suddenly rang. She took off her gloves and looked at the phone. It's Nino. Makoto stopped what he was doing. She must have arrived, then. I'll go open the door. Itsuki nodded and answered the call, but her expression suddenly changed. Wait, where are you now? Got it, I'm coming right away. Itsuki's sudden anxious tone made Makoto immediately stop. When he turned around, the girl hurriedly said, Nino twisted her ankle on the way here. Don't panic, we'll go together. Makoto comforted her, grabbed an umbrella, and left with the girl. Soon they met Nino near a convenience store. Her umbrella was already folded up, and she was squatting down rubbing her ankle, looking in pain. Nino, are you okay? Itsuki rushed over anxiously. Makoto followed closely behind. It should be nothing serious, just my ankle hurts a bit. Nino said angrily. There were 2 jerks racing their motorcycles downtown. I was walking on the side, but they still scared me. Clenching her fists, she said angrily, I got startled and lost my balance, twisting my ankle. Itsuki got mad hearing that. How could they do that? Makoto suddenly asked, were they 2 motorcycles? A red one and a blue Harley. Nino froze. How do you know? Makoto replied, I saw them before when I was buying groceries. I almost got hit too. Then they're habitual offenders. Both girls were furious. Makoto was surprised as well. Even after escaping the time loop, Nino still ran into those reckless guys. Only this time, it wasn't him getting scared, but Nino. Time to give them a Leo flying kick. Makoto crouched down in front of Nino. Let me check it for you. Nino initially didn't want to refuse, but when Makoto touched her ankle, her body tensed up and her cheeks flushed as she said, Maybe we should go to your place to check. It's outside here. Makoto ignored that and carefully examined her ankle, saying, I can't see clearly with the socks on, but it's definitely not swollen. I have medicine at home, I'll treat it for you later. After that, he turned Nino around and crouched down. Come up first. Eh? Both girls were a bit surprised. Nino looked at Makoto's back shyly. Itsuki can just help me. That would be too slow, and didn't you say your foot still hurts? But. No buts, get in the car first. Seeing Makoto so persistent, Nino finally blushed and leaned on him. Then I'll trouble you. She only rested her hand on his shoulder, too shy to hold on properly. You hold the umbrella. Makoto reminded, carrying her back. Itsuki hurried to walk beside them. After a while, Nino gradually recovered and muttered, too bad I didn't get a good look at their license plates. Otherwise, I'd definitely report them. Makoto spoke warmly, when you can walk again, I'll help you get back at them. Nino was stunned. She wanted to ask more, but Makoto changed the subject. Alright, save it for later. Does this guy have a tough side too? But if he's going to help me get back at them, how exactly is he going to do it? Oh right, he said he'd seen those guys before. Does he know where they live? If that's true, will he just show up and confront them like in the dramas? Nino's thoughts ran wild. Only now did she realize how solid Makoto's back felt, and it was pretty stable with her leaning on him. Once home, Makoto put Nino on the sofa and went to get the medicine kit. When he came out of the bedroom, he said, Nino, take off your knee-high socks. Oh. Nino didn't resist, acting calm as she took off the socks and placed them aside. But when Makoto held her foot again, this time without the socks, her face started to flush again. The memory of the last time he massaged her. How intensely good it felt. Seemed to resurface in her mind. Nino looked at him with reddened cheeks, feeling the warmth of his palms and a comforting touch as he rubbed her foot. Gradually, that comfortable feeling returned. She was so embarrassed she couldn't help but say, maybe I should do it myself. Before finishing, she let out a strange sound. Itsuki, concerned, asked, what's wrong, Nino? Still hurts? Nino shook her head hard, blushing. Not pain. Pleasure. He's really good at massaging. Makoto understood perfectly and stayed silent to avoid awkwardness, focusing on applying the medicine and rubbing her foot to help absorption. Seeing Nino shake her head, Itsuki also realized it wasn't pain. So the question arose. If Nino isn't in pain, why is she making strange sounds? Why is she now pressing her lips tightly shut? At first, Itsuki didn't understand, but as Nino's cheeks turned redder and her eyes became watery, she finally understood. Nino was enjoying it. Just like last time with the massage, she must be feeling really good. Itsuki quietly clenched her fists, regretting not letting Makoto massage her legs last time because of shyness. Now, seeing Nino trying hard to suppress the pleasure to avoid making a sound, she realized she probably missed out on something big. And a girl's foot, held and massaged like that by a boy. Makoto, does he really not think anything more about it? Itsuki clenched her fists tightly, feeling conflicted. She knew her 5 sisters' figures very well. They often bathed together, so she remembered that everyone's feet, including her own, were very beautiful. For example, the small foot Makoto was holding now. Nino's ankle was slender and delicate, skin white and smooth, with faint veins showing, adding a subtle texture to the fine skin. Nino's toes were long and slender, small and pure white, with nails a healthy pale pink, like 10 beautiful petals arranged in a row, shining brightly. No matter how you looked at it, this little foot was exquisite, flawless, and beautiful. As someone who was both a leg and foot enthusiast, Makoto naturally might have other thoughts. But that was at normal times. Now that Nino had twisted her ankle, no matter what thoughts he had, he wouldn't show them at this moment. Meanwhile, Nino felt as if she was losing control of her feet. That warm, comfortable sensation wrapped her little foot inside and out, making her feel utterly relaxed. By the end, her breathing became rapid, and her upper body slumped softly against the sofa. Nino, surrender. The next moment, muffled sounds escaped from her covered mouth, making Itsuki's eyes widen in shock. At that instant, Nino felt so ashamed she was almost desperate. Her own sister, and a close boy, could hear everything clearly. This despair was no less than Ughyobito's time trapped in hell, or the final desperate dance of 369. Alright. Makoto let go and stood up. He could see straight through Nino's embarrassed heart and immediately said, you don't need to think too much. This is originally a small matter, and there's no outsider here anyway. Then, he teased himself on purpose, when I first went to a professional massage place to have my back stepped on, I was shouting much louder than you. Nino blushed and dared not look at him, her voice muffled, I understand. Thank you. Itsuki stared intently at Nino's face. I want it too. Not only do I want a meat bun, I want Makoto to massage me. Chapter 67. The most awkward situation in Nino's life has happened after Makoto finished applying medicine for Nino. He was about to continue cooking when Akika called. She didn't chat about anything else, just asked, Nino and Itsuki probably won't come back for dinner, right? Makoto glanced at Itsuki, who was seriously wearing an apron. I'm making dinner. Unless something unexpected happens, they should both stay. Makoto, have you finally stopped resisting and gone after my sisters? Akika said jokingly. Makoto, I told you before, I'll go after all 5 of you. At least, a friendship is a must. Alright, I know you're joking, but you can't treat my sisters the same way you treat me. Akika said just a few words before switching to a teasing tone. If you really want to tease someone, then leave my sisters alone and come after me instead. No fun with you. Only fun because it's you. Makoto thought. Akika, too bad I'm busy with important things today and can't come. Is it because of Uncle Nakano? Makoto played along. Did Itsuki tell you? Dad plans to have dinner with us in a couple of days, and he just pretended not to care while asking about you. Looks like you left a deep impression on him last time. Do you think it's possible that I might join your Nakano family then? Really? Akika's voice got higher. Makoto took a big breath. Join your Nakano family dinner. Akika was silent for a moment, then smiled bitterly. Are you trying to fool me with a normal attack to trigger my ultimate move? Makoto retorted, haven't I already tricked you? No, definitely not. She childishly repeated her denial. At that moment, Itsuki looked over. Who are you talking to? Akika called. She thinks you guys definitely won't go back for dinner. Makoto answered. Itsuki was a bit embarrassed and quickly went to the kitchen to work. Akika didn't ask about Itsuki but suddenly switched topics. By the way, Makoto, if you like someone, would you chat with her every day? Starting to pull the thread, huh? Makoto wanted to laugh. Among the 5 Nakano sisters, Akika's level was just okay. But in front of Makoto, her little tricks weren't enough to fool him at all. So he held back his laugh and said, you brought up this topic, so you should answer first. Akika let out a proud laugh. I definitely chat with the person I like every day. Then, she lowered her voice a bit. Do you think that counts now? Damn. Such a sudden straightforward ultimate move. This rhythm is off. Makoto was stunned. He thought Akika would keep pulling the thread, but she really threw out the ultimate move. On the other end of the phone, Akika was actually very nervous. Originally, she planned to go to Makoto's house with Nino today, but an unexpected visit from their father forced her, as the eldest daughter, to take care of family matters. Because she lost the chance to meet as planned, she chatted with Makoto and acted a little capriciously. In other words, what she just said was a sudden impulse. After saying it, she regretted it. No. The ultimate move shouldn't have been played like that. It should be saved for the right opportunity, the right night, after meeting him in person. What a mess, Akika. The girl touched her face, which was indeed heating up. Embarrassment and regret flooded her brain. The sudden silence on the phone nearly made her hang up. Just as she was about to find an excuse to hang up, Makoto's voice sounded, forget it. Click. Quickly, Akika hung up. Makoto finally couldn't help laughing aloud. High offense, low defense. On the other end, Akika held her phone, dazed for a moment, then suddenly giggled silly. Of course, I knew it. He must have been attracted by my charm long ago. Even if Nino and Itsuki are acting weird, so what? I've got the advantage. Akika turned and looked at Miku and Yotsuba sitting in the living room, waving her little hand. Nino won't come back to cook today. Come on, sister will treat you to a big meal. Miku tilted her head, worried. Is Akika out of her mind? Your Miku is really worried about you. JPG Yotsuba watched Akika happily go back to her room to change clothes and scratched her head. She must have met something good, but is it worth being this happy just because Nino isn't coming back to cook? Miku stood up. At this point, let's eat first. Yotsuba, makes sense. On the other side, before Makoto went to the kitchen, Nino asked him, can I borrow your computer for a bit? Sure, use it however you want. Makoto pretended not to notice the embarrassment on Nino's face. He guessed it was because of the foot-rubbing incident just now. Her girl's heart was still feeling shy and she wanted to find a place to hide and adjust her mood. Thanks. Nino went to the bedroom and casually closed the door behind her, then let out a deep sigh. She really still felt awkward. But Makoto was only half right. The real reason she wanted to hide temporarily was because of her underwear. Damn, why am I so weak? I should have held on, now I'm embarrassed again. Nino leaned against the wall, cheeks flushed, eyes closed. Last time with the massage was like this, and this time with the foot rub too. Since she had zero experience in this area, she blamed herself. Thinking she was too weak, too sensitive, and lacked control. Unconsciously, Nino pressed her legs tightly together, stood there for a moment, then somewhat frustrated, walked to the computer and sat down. Could I only be like Akika, find a chance later to avoid Tsuki, then ask Makoto for a pair of safe pants? Nino thought with embarrassment. Honestly, she really couldn't bring herself to ask. But if she didn't, she would have to go home wearing wet pants. That feeling was really awful. To avoid suspicion, she randomly opened a web page and sat there dazed. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she noticed the wardrobe door wasn't fully closed. The idea of borrowing safe pants from Makoto popped up again in her mind. She wouldn't be rude enough to directly rummage through his wardrobe, and at this moment her mind was chaotic, so she just stared at the wardrobe door absent-mindedly. Just then, she suddenly noticed something familiar. White knee-high socks. Nino froze for a second, quickly steadied herself on the table, and slowly walked to the wardrobe. The closer she got, the clearer the view through the slightly open door. On the bottom shelf of the wardrobe lay a familiar pair of white knee-high socks. Nino swore, those were definitely hers. Wait. She looked down at her bare legs and remembered that when she was applying medicine, she had casually placed her socks on the sofa. Could it be that Fushimi directly put my socks in the wardrobe? A ridiculous guess popped up in her mind. But such a guess didn't hold up under reasoning. She didn't think Makoto was that perverted. So she went to the door, opened it, and looked outside. Her own knee-high socks were still on the sofa. Then what about the pair in the wardrobe? Nino's eyes suddenly sharpened. She returned to the wardrobe, but didn't reach in to disturb the crime scene. Instead, she took out her phone and took a picture of the socks. Then she sent the photo to Akika, along with a message, "Explain this, what's going on?" In less than 3 seconds, Akika replied, "Looks familiar." Then came a second message, "That's your knee-high socks, right?" "Nino, what's going on? Why did you hide your socks in Makoto's wardrobe?" Nino laughed angrily, "Do you even hear what you're saying?" Akika, "Just kidding. Last time I accidentally dirtied my socks, and Makoto, being kind-hearted, just washed them for me." Obviously, Akika was well prepared. But clever Detective Nino was not so easily fooled. She sneered holding the phone, even suspecting that Akika might have left not only the knee-high socks that day but also her underwear behind. After all, Akika was wearing his sweatpants that day. Nino quickly edited her message, "Akika, you're a young lady, how can you do such things?" "Akika, what strange things are you talking about?" "I don't understand." Nino turned to look at the wardrobe. She felt an urge to open the wardrobe door and check. In the end, she held back. "I'll judge you when I get home." Nino knew she couldn't catch Akika through online chat, so she simply put away her phone. Now that it was quiet again, she felt uncomfortable inside her skirt. Anyway, they're busy in the kitchen. Maybe I should take it off for a while? At least it won't be so uncomfortable. Nino quickly came up with an idea. There were tissues in the bedroom, so she could just quickly deal with it herself. After she took it off, she indeed felt much more comfortable. After all, wearing wet clothes is very unpleasant. Just sweating in summer while wearing clothes is bad enough, not to mention it was underwear. The girl was sitting on a chair, holding tissues in one hand, when suddenly she heard the doorknob turning. Oh no. She just had time to turn around when Makoto's voice came through. "Itsuki asked if you want a meat bun, we can make a few more." At the moment their eyes met, the entire bedroom fell completely silent. From Makoto's perspective at that moment, Nino sat dazed on the chair, her skirt lifted to her thigh. Her beautiful legs stretched straight and slightly apart, her small feet in slippers, tissues in hand dropping to her thigh, and a piece of white cloth hanging over the chair back. For a moment, Nino's face flushed deep red with embarrassment. The most embarrassing moment of her life had arrived. Makoto silently backed out and closed the door, leaning against a wall deep in thought. What just happened? He replayed the scene in his mind 3 times but still couldn't figure it out. But that piece of cloth hanging on the chair reminded him of a modified lyric, who says only those standing in the light are heroes. Standing there with your bare butt is also heroic. Inside the room, Nino pressed her burning face with her hands, her shame peaking. It's over. Really over. Outside, Itsuki peeked her head from the kitchen. Did you ask Nino? Does she want a meat bun? Makoto, she probably doesn't want to see meat buns right now, or even us. Itsuki. Chapter 68, 68, Akika wears Nino's, Nino wears Akika's. It's over. This time it's really over. Nino felt like she had completely lost face. If Makoto lived on the first floor, she might have escaped through the window on the spot. Why did he come in at this time? Nino covered her burning cheeks, filled with regret. If only she hadn't taken it off. If only she hadn't wiped. Just then, she heard the doorknob turn again. Again? Nino shuddered and quickly pulled her skirt down. Just as she looked up, the door was pushed open. Outside was still Makoto. But this time he didn't come in, just stood at the door and asked, "I should be able to come in, right?" Nino quickly averted her eyes, her voice muffled with embarrassment. "This is your house, why are you asking me?" Makoto came in and closed the door, saying, "About what just happened?" "Don't say it." Nino, like a flustered cat, glared angrily with shame. Makoto was calm. "Just listen to me first." Seeing him so calm, Nino held back her shame and didn't continue to act out. "I really saw it just now." That one sentence from Makoto completely stunned Nino. "Where's your emotional intelligence? When you were with me before, you were good at reading the atmosphere. What happened now? Shouldn't you avoid things that embarrass a girl?" With Nino's stunned expression, Makoto slowly said, "Although I saw it, I didn't really understand it." Nino pursed her lips, face burning red, and didn't say a word. Makoto expected this. "What I mean is, I roughly know it's your secret, so I will keep it confidential." Nino was about to speak but heard him continue, "To show my sincerity, I can also tell you a secret. That way, we exchange secrets, and you can feel more at ease." "Eh?" The girl froze. She never expected that kind of development. But exchanging secrets. That did sound sincere. She still didn't dare to look Makoto in the eyes, shyly asking, "What secret?" "Makoto, those two people who scared you while driving, I not only know them, but also know where they live." Nino was stunned. "Is that really a secret?" Makoto retorted, "How could it not be? You telling me that is pointless, and I don't want to know. Because I know their addresses and information, I can take you to get revenge later." Hearing this, Nino lifted her head sharply. This time she finally dared to look at Makoto's face. "You're not joking, right?" Makoto shook his head. "If I say I'll help you get revenge, then I will." As he spoke, he looked at the foot Nino had twisted. "If we don't teach them a lesson, they'll keep doing this, and what if you get hurt again?" "For me?" Nino felt a little shy. He always cared about her, which eased her embarrassment a lot. More importantly, Makoto mentioned secret exchange. Generally, if a boy is willing to exchange secrets with a girl, it means their relationship has reached a close stage. Nino found that instead of disliking the exchange, she was secretly delighted. "Then I'll listen to you." Though still blushing, she finally smiled. Makoto responded with a smile, "So will you stay here or go to the living room?" "I'll go out too, I'm done using the computer." Nino was too embarrassed to stay here. She stood to turn off the computer and went to the door. Then she noticed Makoto standing there without moving, looking at her strangely. "What's wrong?" Nino asked. Makoto's tone was strange. "You're just going out like this?" "What's strange about that?" Nino looked down. Her clothes were neat. Makoto laughed a little and pointed to the chair with a pair of panties hanging on it. "Aren't you going to take that?" Nino turned, her face blushing again. "Don't look." She quickly went over and stuffed the panties into her pocket. Makoto thought to himself, "What's so interesting about that? I already saw what I needed to see." He really saw it. Unlike Akika, Nino is not one of the 4 divine beasts. Though not much different anyway. This time, Makoto made way and started to leave, but then he heard the girl softly call out, "Fushimi, wait a moment." Such a familiar phrase made Makoto recall the scene of Conan calling out to Kaido Kid, "Wait a minute." He turned around and saw Nino quickly avoid his gaze, stammering, "Can you lend me a pair of sweatpants?" After saying this, Nino, afraid he would tease her, preemptively added, "I know last time you lent sweatpants to Akika too. We're friends, so lending me a pair should be okay, right? Don't worry, I'll wash them clean." Her words came quickly, and after finishing, she deliberately lifted her chin with a shy and expectant look in her beautiful eyes. Cute. Makoto really felt kind of charmed. Just like Yukino, who, after he kissed her, still thought to find an excuse to escape instead of scolding him. "Of course, you can just pick one you like." Makoto agreed. "Pick one you like? This isn't a store." Nino gave him an annoyed glare. But after he interrupted, she calmed down a lot. After Makoto left, she returned to the bedroom and reached to open the wardrobe door, but her attention was drawn to the long socks at the bottom. "Akika, you really know how to play, throwing my long socks into a boy's house." Nino mocked, bent down, and picked a pair of dark blue sweatpants. She was about to close the wardrobe door when her sharp eyes noticed something beneath the long socks at the bottom. "There's another expert." Nino couldn't resist her curiosity. She reached out and pulled up the long socks, then saw a pair of familiar panties. That color, that style. Isn't that Akika's? It was like a lightning bolt flashed through her mind like Conan, and she became fully alert. My guess was right. Akika really didn't wear any that day. Nino didn't even know what she was feeling right now. Angry? Definitely. As sisters, she really didn't like seeing Akiko play around like this pervert. Nino glanced at the sports shorts in her hand, then simply took out the pair of panties. Sure enough, they were washed clean. Good. Akiko, you wore my long socks, so I'll wear your panties as an emergency measure. That's fair. To avoid Makoto suspecting anything, after putting on Akiko's panties, Nino also put on the sports shorts. Only after doing all that did she leave the bedroom feeling reassured. But as soon as she came to the living room, she found that the long socks she had placed on the sofa were missing. That's not right. They were definitely here just now. Nino hesitated to stand up, feeling that her foot injury had eased considerably, and headed toward the kitchen. Just then, Itsuki came out carrying a tray of dishes. Seeing Nino approach, she said, "Are you looking for your long socks?" "Yes, did you take them?" "Because your socks were all covered with mud and rainwater and couldn't be worn anymore, I talked with Makoto and packed them in a bag for you." "Oh." Nino nodded. Then she realized something and asked, "What did you just call sashimi?" Itsuki blushed. She had accidentally said it out loud in the kitchen just now, forgetting she was supposed to keep it secret. "Itsuki, you're acting a little strange." Nino began to suspect. Itsuki wasn't good at lying, but she didn't want to reveal herself either, so she turned her head to change the subject. "By the way, why did you stay at Fushimi's place for so long?" Nino's expression froze. She also turned away, tilting her face to the side, and said, "Nothing much, I just took a break there for a bit." "Nino, you're lying." Now it was Itsuki's turn to doubt. Nino felt guilty and forced a confident look. "You're hiding things from me too, aren't you? Anyway, you're lying." Itsuki dropped that line and walked away with the tray. Interestingly, at the moment the two girls averted their gazes, they both secretly sighed in relief. And this scene was just seen by Makoto, who had poked his head out after hearing the noise. He felt a bit embarrassed inside. Tonight, Makoto originally wanted to invite Mayu to have dinner together, but no one was home on her end. When he called, Mayu gently said on the phone, "It seems Shizuka-sensei is going through something sad. I'm out with her to cheer her up. You eat first, and I'll bring you some snacks later." Something sad? Looks like another failed matchmaking attempt, poor Shizuka. At 7 p.m. Itsuki finally got to eat the meat buns she had been longing for. Makoto had made these before, and with his steadily improving cooking skills, Itsuki naturally gave praise. Better than the ones sold in stores. Itsuki maintained a delicate eating manner, her rosy lips moving as she happily complimented. "Nino tried one too, the quality is indeed good." She made a mental comparison and thought it was probably on par with her own skills. After resting in the living room for a while, Makoto asked Nino, "Does your foot still hurt? Is it time?" Nino's bright eyes sparkled. "I can walk normally now, but I can't walk too fast." "Makoto, then, shall we go?" "Okay." Nino immediately stood up. She was very eager to see how Makoto was going to help her get back at those two jerks. She herself also thought those two idiots deserved a lesson. Itsuki sat dumbfounded on the side, holding the meat bun. Are these two having a secret call? What about the massage I'm missing? She was conflicted and disappointed, her mouth slightly open, wanting to say what she felt but afraid to interrupt Makoto and Nino's business. Just then, Makoto invited her. "Itsuki, you want to come too? I'll take you to see something fun." Itsuki was stunned for a moment, then smiled and nodded, "Okay." She instantly stopped feeling down. Meanwhile, Nino glanced at the smiling Itsuki and thought, "He's helping me get revenge, so why are you tagging along?" Chapter 69, You're forcing me to sneak out. Makoto thus took the two girls out of the house. He had previously investigated those two spirited guys during the time loop. Those two were either lying at home or outside live streaming, dancing and doing street challenges. They were typical people who eat irregularly. At this time, they must be live streaming, so Makoto took Nino and Itsuki straight to the spot. Looks like it's those two. Nino looked at the two motorcycles parked nearby, then at the two young men dancing in front of their phones, anger rising on her face. If it weren't for those two jerks, she wouldn't have gotten scared and fallen today. If she hadn't fallen, she wouldn't have had her foot massaged. If she hadn't had her foot massaged, she wouldn't have gone to wipe it off. And been caught by Makoto, causing her social death on the spot. Are those them? Itsuki's expression also turned sour. Girls like her who took things seriously hated those kinds of spirited guys the most. Makoto pulled out a mask from his pocket and put it on. Seeing the puzzled looks on the two girls, he said, "Want to make a bet?" "What?" "I'm going to walk over and give each of them a Leo flying kick. They won't be angry but will actually thank me." "No way." Itsuki completely didn't believe it. Nino asked, What's a Leo flying kick? Makoto opened a web page on his phone and showed them an animation. After watching the gif of the Leo flying kick, the two girls became even more skeptical. That kick from Ultraman in the picture could probably not only knock Leaning off the line but might even knock a person down. What's the bet? Nino got interested. Makoto held up two fingers. If I win, each of you gives me a wild card. The girls were stunned. A wild card, as the name implies, means that as long as Makoto has the card, they have to obey his order to do one thing. Makoto continued, if they get angry, then I lose. I'll give each of you 2 wild cards, and you can make me do anything. Deal. Nino agreed first. Though she hadn't thought about what she would do if she got the card, she definitely wanted such a good thing. Besides, in her view, she was definitely going to win. Itsuki hesitated. Nino, don't you want to think about it? What's there to think? 2 against 1, we have the advantage. Besides, Fushimi is going to kick them. Who wouldn't be angry after being kicked unless they're crazy? True. Itsuki also agreed. Seeing their confidence, Makoto smiled, then it settled. Yeah. X2 under the girls' expectant gazes, Makoto walked toward the 2 spirited guys. Yo, Kaga. Makoto waved at one of the young men with dyed red hair. Who are you? The other looked puzzled. I'm from Iwata. He said following you guys live streaming can make money. Makoto said, giving the names of their 2 friends. This was info he had gathered in the time loop. The redhead didn't suspect after hearing this. Why didn't Iwata come himself? Makoto, he's busy today, but he has a great idea. If you cooperate with me, your live stream might get more gifts tonight. Really? Hearing about gifts, the 2 immediately gathered around. Makoto told the redhead, when I jump toward you, just be ready to jump back. I promise this show will be exciting. Don't you want to explain more? No need. You just collect the gifts. Alright. Since Iwata introduced you, we'll trust you this time. They agreed. Then the black-haired guy stepped in front of the camera and loudly said, everyone, next we'll perform an exciting show. If you enjoy it, please give us some gifts. There weren't many people in the live stream, but the audience responded with anticipation. The black-haired guy beckoned the redhead, come on, Kaga, give them a show. The redhead quickly entered the frame and stood at attention. Then both of them turned to look at Makoto. Makoto nodded to them. Just before setting off, he quickly glanced in the direction of Nino and Itsuki. Is he about to start? The 2 girls widened their eyes, afraid of missing any details. Makoto controlled his strength, took only a few steps without a running start, then suddenly leapt up. With an incredibly perfect Leo flying kick, he struck the standing redhead with a loud bang. Accompanied by a miserable scream, the redhead was sent flying sideways, rolling several times on the ground before finally stopping. The black-haired youth was stunned for a second, then solemnly showed respect. That was ruthless, absolutely ruthless. Kaga really acted well. Even the scream was so realistic. However, the redhead on the ground clutched his stomach in pain, breathing hard, too out of breath to speak. Makoto reminded, look at the gifts. Oh, right. The black-haired youth quickly checked backstage, and sure enough, many people were sending gifts, showing how exciting it was. His face brightened. Awesome, today's earnings are even more than last week's. Seeing him so happy, Makoto smiled too. Then next up is you. Remember to cooperate. No problem. I'm counting on you. The black-haired youth bowed seriously to Makoto. But when Makoto performed a second Leo flying kick, the exact moment the target was hit, the black-haired youth's face suddenly changed. Not good, Kaga wasn't faking it. It really hurt. He also fell to the ground. Makoto turned around and gave an okay hand gesture to the stunned Nino and Itsuki. Do they really not get angry when kicked like that? Itsuki asked worriedly. Nino laughed with relief. Good, that means those 2 jerks will be lying down for a few days. It'll stop them from racing wildly in the city every day and scaring people. Itsuki didn't oppose that. People who spent all day thinking about speeding to scare others are actually doing a good deed by lying at home. But Fushimi said they wouldn't get mad and that we should thank him. That shouldn't be possible, right? Itsuki said doubtfully. Nino, feeling good, pop open a champagne, that means we've definitely won. The 2 energetic guys lay on the ground for a while before finally staggering to their feet, only to hear Makoto say, next is the 3rd Leo flying kick. Again? Their faces went pale. Gritting their teeth, they prepared to dodge, but Makoto raised his foot and kicked their live streaming phone flying. The 2 froze. The next second, they became furious, rolling up their sleeves ready to fight. Makoto acted as if he didn't see them, turned around, and walked over to the motorcycle. With one hand, he lifted it straight up, commenting to himself, this spike swear is a bit serious. The 2 energetic guys stopped. Their moods began to shift. Finally, they exchanged a look and silently rolled their sleeves back down. A powerhouse who can easily lift a motorcycle with one hand. They had only seen such strongmen in TV strongman competitions before. No, even strongmen couldn't lift a motorcycle in such an unscientific way like Makoto did just now. As Makoto steadily put the motorcycle back down, he turned around to see the two guys looking very intimidated, avoiding his gaze. Nino and Itsuki over there were also stunned. His strength is so great. Nino's language system got a bit scrambled from the visual shock. She said excitedly while gesturing with her hands, "Itsuki, did you see that? He actually lifted the motorcycle with one hand." Itsuki nodded in disbelief. "I saw it." "So, Makoto's body is that strong?" Surprised, she unintentionally used the affectionate nickname Makoto. But Nino didn't care about that anymore. Her fair face flushed red from excitement, her eyes full of admiration and surprise. "Look at those two jerks. They're scared." Itsuki looked at her puzzled, "But then we lost the bet." "Why are you so happy?" Nino paused. "Looks like it." Then she stared at Makoto's face and murmured, "Lost or not, I think Fushimi was really cool today." Elsewhere, Makoto knew it was time to end, patted the Harley he had ridden. "I'll borrow this bike, return it in a couple of days." The two energetic guys, "Huh? Makoto? The two, oh." Without any more conversation, after these three interjections, both sides reached a friendly agreement. Makoto skillfully rode the motorcycle over to Nino and Itsuki. "Get on, I'll take you home." Nino blushed and stepped forward, climbing up first. "We lost the bet." Itsuki didn't realize it at first. Until she saw Nino hugging Makoto's waist, she realized what she had missed. At this point, she could only sit at the very back. When Makoto started the bike, Itsuki nervously asked, "We won't get caught by the police, right?" "No, I have lots of experience arguing with the police, and I'm very familiar with the routes around here. I guarantee to get you home safely." Makoto wasn't lying. He had played real-life GTA in the time loop. Along the way, Nino's grip around Makoto's waist was tight. Compared to before when Makoto carried her and she only placed her hand on his shoulder, this time their posture was much more intimate. Even her full chest was pressed completely against Makoto's back. "Fushimi." In the night breeze, Nino suddenly called out. "Makoto, what is it?" Nino smiled brightly, but her eyes were burning intensely. "How about I call you Makoto from now on?" Makoto smiled. "Sure, but if you call me Makoto Oniichan, Big Brother Makoto, I'd be even happier." "Oniichan? I don't want to be your little sister." Nino smiled while pursing her lips. She didn't have the courage to tell Makoto that his intimidating appearance today really struck her heart. This feeling was even stronger than when he massaged her feet before. It made her legs go weak. Meanwhile, Itsuki sat at the back, listening to their conversation with a blank expression and clenched fists. "Nino, you're forcing me to steal him." Chapter 70. I don't know if I can hold on. When Makoto dropped Nino and Itsuki off at the apartment entrance, night had already fallen. After the two girls got off one after another, Itsuki first asked, "What should we do about the motorcycle?" "Just return it to them in a couple of days. You saw for yourselves, they're easy to deal with." Makoto smiled. Itsuki couldn't hold back and chuckled. "You scared them by lifting the motorcycle with one hand. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so easy to talk to." Nino muttered beside her, "It's a pity we left them one bike. If they race in the city again tomorrow, they'll definitely scare others. They probably don't have the guts for that anymore." Makoto was very certain. He had contacted those two many times in the time loop. Not only did they like to betray their teammates, but they were also especially cowardly. "All right, enough about them." Nino raised her beautiful face, looking at Makoto. "We lost today. Do the 2 wild card tickets need to be handmade?" "Of course. This kind of sense of ritual is very important," Makoto said without hesitation. "Sense of ritual?" Nina rolled her eyes, apparently finding the idea a bit childish. Then she asked, "What do you plan to make us do with these 2 tickets?" Itsuki also looked over. "Makoto, I haven't thought about it yet, but it will definitely be something you can do." "Really? If not, do you think I'd make you do something ridiculous? Like a backflip or something?" "I definitely won't perform a backflip for you." Nino laughed and gave him a playful eye roll. Itsuki laughed as well. "If you want to see backflips, you'll have to ask Yotsuba. Her athletic ability is better than ours." After a brief chat, Makoto took his leave. The 2 girls didn't go inside immediately but watched for a while until Makoto disappeared before going in. "Today was really fun," Nino murmured to herself, smiling brightly. "I'm not happy." Itsuki's expression was calm. Although she got a big meat bun, the massage she had hoped for didn't happen. After the 2 came out of the elevator, when Nino opened the door, Itsuki saw a notification on her phone screen. The message was from Makoto. Itsuki glanced at Nino without showing any emotion. Seeing Nino didn't look at her, she quickly opened the social app. Makoto, I forgot to ask earlier. When I was applying medicine to Nino, you were watching very intently, right? Do you want to experience the technique of a professional masseur again? Itsuki was startled, a feeling of delight swelling inside her. But the girl's modesty made her hesitate. Should she admit it or not? She changed her slippers after entering and suddenly remembered a phrase she saw online, hesitation leads to defeat. I don't want to lose. Itsuki immediately replied, if you have time next time, can you help me with a massage? Makoto, sure. Itsuki was instantly happy. But she didn't know the phrase she saw online actually had a second half, decisiveness leads to failure. Nino didn't see Akika in the living room, so she simply knocked on her bedroom door. When Akika opened the door, Nino asked, shall we take a bath together? Akika realized Nino wanted to talk to her and smiled in agreement. The two sisters came to the bathroom together, and just like last time, Nino was the first to take off her thin underwear and bra. But this time, she didn't put her underwear away directly. Instead, she pointed at Akika and said, I'm helping you bring this back, so shouldn't you thank me? Akika was confused at first, but when she followed Nino's pointing finger, she froze. Seeing her sister's expression, Nino thought to herself, I was right. Akika is definitely hiding a lot from me. So she put on the same imposing tone she used on the phone earlier, Akika, you're a young lady. Akika quickly adjusted her mindset and smiled, I know. After saying that, she naturally started undressing. Nino sneered inwardly, you're still pretending to stay calm? She was about to launch a second round of probing questions when Akika leisurely said, those sweatpants must be Makoto's, right? So that means today, not only did he give you a massage, but he also massaged you. Akika deliberately didn't finish her sentence. Instead, she reached out and turned on the nearby faucet, and clear water immediately sprayed out. Then she turned off the faucet, looked at the stunned Nino, and teasingly said, you know what I mean, right? Nino had never seen such a scene before. Her face instantly turned red, and she angrily said, are you really a young lady? Where on earth did you learn such weird hints? She paused and changed the word to weird, having almost slipped out a harsher phrase. Luckily, she caught herself just in time. Akika grinned proudly, Nino, you're so lame. She recalled a phrase Makoto often said and smiled wider, embarrassed Nino is really cute. Idiot. Nino lost the battle and angrily sat down in the bathtub. Akika elegantly took off her clothes, fully showing off her body that easily outclassed girls her age. As she spread her smooth, jade-like legs and slightly twisted her slender waist, she came over to Nino. She didn't sit in the tub but looked down at Nino with a subtle smile and said, I still remember how the five of us used to occasionally argue over things, and it was always you and Itsuki who stood up to keep the peace. Nino was surprised, why are you suddenly bringing this up? Akika made a tentative move, Nino, you're not a kid anymore. You wouldn't fight me over things now, right? Nino's expression stiffened. She suddenly turned away and said angrily, if you know I'm not a kid, why are you asking such stupid questions? She added, besides, our hobbies are different. I don't like making a mess like you do, turning your room into a doghouse. Akika's smile faded slowly. Was she avoiding a direct answer and trying to change the subject out of guilt? Nino, what exactly happened to you tonight? Sensing this, Akika didn't push further. When she also sat in the bathtub, she felt both headache and relief. Nino is indeed unstable, and in this house, only Itsuki can truly make me feel safe. Meanwhile, in the bedroom, Itsuki was chatting online with Makoto. At the 9 p.m., Makoto ended the conversation with Itsuki. The girl didn't talk about much else online, mostly asking him about how to make those steamed buns from earlier. She also casually brought up some topics she didn't plan to tell Nino and the others. For example, next time she hoped that when she got a massage, Makoto would help relax her leg muscles, just like he did for Nino. Regarding this, Makoto thought Itsuki was quite subtle. If it were Akika, it probably would have been a blunt, I'll give you my legs to play with. After a while, Mayu came by. She was carrying some food, clearly remembering her earlier promise to bring Makoto some treats. However, Makoto wasn't interested in the food at all. Because an even more appetizing treat was right in front of him. Mayu was wearing black stockings. This was a rare sight. Usually at this hour, she would be wearing pajamas or a comfortable nightgown. But never stockings. At that moment, her skirt was just a little above her knees, revealing a smooth thigh that contrasted sharply with the black thigh-high stockings. The belt at her waist tightly hugged her slender waist, perfectly accentuating her delicate figure and irresistibly attractive chest. The texture of the stockings was fine and smooth. People online often say stockings are like a woman's second skin, and that was certainly true here. The black stockings fit perfectly over her well-proportioned legs, adding a subtle sensual haze to her already beautiful legs. The black fabric shimmered faintly under the light, and it was obvious that the stockings left a shallow mark on her thigh when they pressed. Makoto hadn't even seen this in person yet, but just imagining the scene made him instinctively give a thumbs up. That's so hot. Hey, why are you staring at my legs like that? Mayu blushed slightly, a little uncomfortable with Makoto's unabashed gaze. Makoto replied, they're beautiful. I like looking, so I want to look more. Mayu smiled lightly, really? I was worried you'd find it strange since I never wore these before. Then why did you decide to wear them today? Well, it's a long story, and it involves Teacher Shizuka. Then get to the point. You can't tell anyone, okay? Teacher Shizuka went on a blind date today, but the guy she was supposed to meet got distracted by a woman wearing black stockings and stood her up. Mayu's expression changed, as if torn between amusement and sympathy for Hiratsuka Shizuka. Finally, she said softly, you once said my legs were especially beautiful, so I thought maybe if I wore stockings, you'd be even happier. Makoto suddenly realized, so you bought a pair on your way back? Mayu blushed, shyly holding up her small hand and indicating, 5 pairs. I bought 5 pairs. Makoto gave a respectful nod. 5 pairs. That's enough for me to tear through. As she sat down next to Makoto, about to remind him to eat before the food got cold, she saw him lift his left hand and pat his thigh. The meaning was clear, can I play with your legs? Mayu blushed and playfully scolded him, can't you be a little more patient? Makoto, I don't care about that. Mayu shyly looked away, mumbling to ease her nervousness and embarrassment, you really leave me no choice. After that, she took off her shoes, adjusted her sitting posture, and turned sideways. Her pair of black-stockinged beautiful legs fell into Makoto's arms. Most importantly, her eyes were sparkling wet as she turned her face slightly and softly said, you can play now. Makoto thought, I wonder if I can hold back. Chapter 71, The Overbearing Force in the Living Room. Mayu watched Makoto happily holding her beautiful legs covered in stockings. Though shy, she couldn't help feeling happy. There were often beautiful girls around him, and they were all girls his age. For a woman who had long entered society like her, this was a huge source of anxiety. More than once she had thought, though she managed her figure well, she was too short, and besides looking good, she had no other attractive qualities. Moreover, the 5 Nakano sisters and Utaha from school all had better figures than her. And if only looks were counted, Yukino, who often appeared by his side, was even more beautiful than her. In summary, Mayu's inner sense of crisis never diminished. Whenever she felt insecure, every time she spent alone time with Makoto, she eventually felt reassured. Luckily, she still had some charm. Mayu thought to herself. As for being disqualified, she had long been disqualified. Whatever would happen, would happen. With that thought, a tickling sensation came from her legs. To hide her embarrassment and shame, she deliberately changed the subject. Is the club going smoothly now? All is well. Makoto's palm moved down to gently hold her petite foot. Mayu's cheeks flushed charmingly. I actually thought about it. I don't understand anything about what your club does. As your advisor, I'm basically useless. Makoto understood and looked up. You want to learn? Yeah. Mayu was happy he understood immediately. She timidly glanced at him, with a daughter-like expression. Would you be willing to teach me? If you want to learn, I'm willing to teach you. Makoto said. Mayu was delighted. But then she hung her head without confidence. I learn pretty slowly. Besides drawing, I have no talent for other things. Perhaps she didn't realize it herself, but when her expression changed from a bright smile to this anxious and lost look, the graceful beauty unique to a young mature woman was revealed vividly. Not to mention, her stocking-covered beautiful legs were resting in Makoto's arms. Her waist-to-hip ratio was excellent. In this side-sitting posture, her skirt was slightly lifted, making the scene quite suggestive. Even if Makoto didn't deliberately look, the attraction of this sight teased his eyes every moment. He calmly responded, it's okay. I have plenty of time. If you run into difficulties, you can always come to me for tutoring. Really? Mayu's beautiful eyes lit up, looking at him with a hopeful gaze. Can we start now? Makoto, huh? Seeing this beautiful teacher's eager expression, he realized something. It was probably because there were so many beautiful girls around him that she had started feeling insecure. That's why she hoped to help him in other ways. Only in this way could she find a chance to prove her presence. Faced with her sudden request, though Makoto only wanted to keep playing with her beautiful legs, he softened. It's fine. There's a saying, being soft when you shouldn't is a small matter, the important thing is not to be hard where you should be soft. Makoto thought. Under Mayu's eager expectation, he got up, grabbed the materials he had prepared from the bedroom, and they started studying right there in the living room. If any outsiders saw this, they would definitely find it strange. A boy in pajamas was teaching a beautiful woman in a nightgown and stockings. It looked like the world was turned upside down. Mayu studied seriously, and Makoto taught earnestly. An hour later, Mayu began to yawn. Makoto was about to say, "Let's stop here for today." But she rubbed her eyes and forced away the sleepiness. "Shall I make some coffee?" "Wait, are you planning to stay up late studying?" Makoto couldn't help laughing and crying at the same time. She was going full force. Mayu's voice remained gentle. "Because this is your first time teaching me, I want to learn more." Makoto thought for a moment and said, "No need to brew coffee, I have something better." He stood up, pretending to go to the fridge to get something. After turning away, he took out the bottle of strong Red Bull. "This stuff is great for waking you up, but I still recommend you drink less of it." Makoto came back and poured a full cup. Mayu smiled cutely. "I know, if I drink too much, I'll have insomnia." Makoto, "No, what I meant is if you drink too much, you might wet the bed." Mayu. With a system-produced energy drink, Mayu was clearly much more alert afterward. But when it comes to studying, if you keep at it too long, your concentration always wanes over time and it becomes impossible to return to that initial peak focus. Mayu was no exception. Makoto saw that even though her focus was clearly dropping, she still stubbornly forced herself to memorize photography knowledge by rote. Why not try a halo? He remembered Yumiko's quest reward. The last time it was used in the club, aside from Itsuki's buff being a bit overpowered, Akika and Yukino had pretty standard study boost buffs. Makoto thought this was a good idea. Since Mayu was determined to keep studying, he might as well give her a buff. Yumiko's Queen's Halo, activated. The next second, a text box appeared above Mayu's head. Makoto quickly glanced over. Then, he was stunned. It wasn't the expected, calm, or focus, but a new buff he had never seen before. Passion like fire. Makoto, uh-oh. No, wait, maybe not so bad. Then he saw Mayu lift her head. The material that had held her intense focus was abandoned without hesitation. Her eyes were filled with a captivating watery color, burning like flames. "How about we study next time when we have time?" she said. Makoto, "Sure, then I'll clean up the desk first." Before he could get up, a smooth arm grabbed him. Mayu's cheeks were flushed as she said, "We'll clean up later. You haven't showered today, right? I'll help you wash your back." Makoto felt a bit conflicted. Though the situation was beyond his expectations, overall, it seemed to meet his hopes. Mayu got up to fill the bathtub with water. While waiting, she actively put her silky black-legged beauty back into Makoto's hands. After a while, the bathtub filled, and she pulled Makoto to stand up. They originally walked side by side. But once inside the bathroom, Makoto carried Mayu in his arms. A classic princess carry. Mayu was clearly shy, but inside she was happier. She had been trying to restrain and suppress all kinds of feelings deep inside for a long time. Now she felt she probably wouldn't disturb Makoto too much. After all, she was much older than him. But tonight, she suddenly felt she shouldn't hold back anymore. She wanted to cross that door, to push it open with force. With strong Red Bull, she was energetic and at full combat power. So when Makoto held her and placed her on the sink countertop, she lifted her crimson face and launched a sneak attack. She kissed him. Makoto didn't defend or dodge. This time he had already turned off the halo. Yet Mayu didn't stop, instead she passionately wrapped her arms around his neck. It was their first kiss, but unusually fiery. The shyness unique to her had long been completely suppressed. The bathroom already had a bathtub filled with hot water big enough to easily fit 2 people. Steam continuously swirled around, and the windows were fogged. "Should we go back to the room first?" Makoto asked with concern. Her answer was, no. Finally deciding to take this step, even though she was nervous inside, she didn't want to hesitate anymore. If she hesitated, she suspected she would retreat. "It might not be convenient in the bathroom," Makoto said softly, looking at her charming face. Mayu didn't reply. Usually soft and gentle, she decided to let Makoto force himself on her. That night was also when she first realized just how slippery the bathroom floor really was. Chapter 72, Will win early the next morning, Makoto took a day off for himself and also helped Mayu take one. At first, Mayu was reluctant, saying she didn't need to take a day off. Makoto responded, "Take 2 steps, just get up and take 2 steps." Mayu sheepishly slipped back under the covers. Actually, she could walk normally as long as she didn't run, so daily life wasn't much affected. But the problem was, when Makoto asked her to take 2 steps, He held the corner of the blanket as if ready to pull it off at any moment. Mayu understood his logic. If you think you can do it, then so can I. No way. She blushed and lay back down. She had already used up her courage yesterday. It was still broad daylight now. How could she keep fighting? After all, last night had been in the bathroom. She was the one who had actively issued the battle invitation to Makoto, and the one who suggested not returning to the bathroom. That's why in the end she was holding on to the wall. Hence she sighed, the bathroom floor really was very slippery. Mayu needed rest, so naturally Makoto wouldn't continue the fight. Even though his cool down was already over. They stayed at home almost all day until 4:30 p.m., when Mayu got a call from Shizuka, which made her reluctantly get up from Makoto's arms. Looks like you've become good friends with teacher Hiratsuka? Makoto asked casually while watching Mayu bend down to put on her shoes at the entrance. We have always been good friends. She replied with a smile, then slowed her voice, seeming reluctant to meet Makoto's eyes. Don't worry, I'll try to come back early. Her shy demeanor looked exactly like a wife eager to return home early to be intimate with her husband. By now, her body had mostly recovered. Are you rushing over to take care of her? Makoto guessed the reason. Mayu nodded. She failed a matchmaking event, right? Yesterday I saw she was in a bad mood, but she kept pretending so I wouldn't worry. Just now she called me saying she wanted to have a meal together, which means she's still upset. Makoto wasn't surprised. Anyone who keeps failing at matchmaking events would be badly shaken. If the person wasn't good looking, at least you could find a reason. But Shizuka was pretty, had a good figure, almost 30, and still a virgin, and yet her matchmaking record was so bad. Hard to endure. Well, I'm off then. Mayu grabbed her bag, looking reluctant to leave. Makoto saw her little expression and teased, want me to come with you? No, teacher Shizuka's already in a bad state. If you found out about her embarrassing situation, she probably wouldn't dare go to school for several days. Mayu said helplessly. She didn't want to go out either. Their private world was really intoxicating. Just chatting could easily lead to feelings. But Mayu wasn't afraid. Though she knew her body hadn't fully recovered, she still had a pair of beautiful legs. If worse came to worst, her eloquence was slowly improving. After Mayu left, Makoto was about to cook when he got an unexpected call. It was Yukino. You actually called me first? Makoto said, surprised. Because I have something important to discuss. By the way, why did you take the day off today? Yukino asked with concern, still as a friend. I also had something I had to take care of. Oh. Yukino didn't ask more, but then said very seriously, my mother wants to invite you to dinner. Makoto was taken aback. Today? Tomorrow night. So you're giving me a heads up in advance? Makoto chuckled. Yukino fell silent. Makoto could roughly guess her thoughts but didn't mention them. Tell me, what do you want me to do in front of your mother? You know me very well, why can't you guess now? I only know you, that doesn't mean I can predict the future. After a brief silence, Yukino seemed to take a deep breath and changed her tone. Since my mother found out I went to your place for dinner last time, she's probably suspicious about our relationship, so please don't say anything reckless in front of her. This time, Makoto suddenly went silent. Yukino had been patient, but after waiting for a full 5 seconds without a sound from the other side, she couldn't help but suspect he hadn't heard her clearly. Are you listening? Do you want me not to talk nonsense, or do you want me to tell Aunt Yukino Shita that I want to win you over? Makoto's voice finally came through. Yukino's tone stiffened. Are you being stupid again? Give it up, Yukino. You're really bad at changing the subject. Makoto continued. Are you thinking that someone as brazen as me would say to Aunt Yukino Shita, right in front of her, that I want to win you over? That way, you can find a way to back down in your heart. Yukino remained silent. But the more silent she was, the more it confirmed Makoto's guess. With a way out, she could tell herself that the first kiss incident was his forceful initiative, and she could still keep the promise she made, I will never date you. Even if her mother later found out she went to his house, as long as her mother knew he was pursuing her, explaining it wouldn't be too troublesome. Another benefit was, now that my mother knows your intention, you wouldn't dare to be so reckless with me anymore, right? Thinking of the scene with the leg play and kissing, Yukino felt a mix of embarrassment and agitation. Yukino didn't like things slipping out of her control. So she needed to create a chance for herself, to pull the rhythm back as soon as possible. But she didn't expect that Makoto knew her so well that he could guess her inner thoughts in just a few words. Yukino, have you noticed your personality is actually quite awkward? Makoto's voice interrupted her thoughts. Yukino controlled her emotions. What do you mean? You want to change, but don't know where to start. You want to be as outstanding as your sister, but you're reluctant to ask me for help, even though I'm willing to help you," Makoto said. Yukino replied, "Because I can handle many things well on my own." No sooner had she finished than Makoto asked, "Do you want to meet earlier tomorrow?" "If we meet earlier, I can cooperate with you. Tell me what you want me to say to Aunt Yukinoshita, and I'll say it. Are you an idiot? I'm not going to force you to do that kind of thing." Yukino lightly cursed. Then she took the initiative. "After school tomorrow, I'll come to your house." After hanging up, she leaned on the sofa and slowly closed her eyes. She still couldn't face her own heart correctly. That day, when she saw him holding an umbrella with a giga in the rain, Yukino realized her contradictory heart made her too awkward in matters of love. She cared and liked him, but early on had firmly decided, "I won't date him." So she tried to keep distance, just staying friends. But that guy was unreasonable and kissed her directly. And kissed her twice. Now, her desire to meet him grew stronger than before, and she could no longer suppress it. Today, her mother called. Yukino originally thought tomorrow night would be a good chance to meet him. At the same time, she was conflicted about how not to let him see through her intentions. In the end, he still saw through them. And even had the upper hand. When Makoto asked want to meet, she had a brief thought, if he wants to meet now, should I go to his house, or should he come to mine? After realizing this, she got annoyed. How could she care about him this much? Tomorrow, I must win him once, and not let him control the conversation rhythm anymore. Yukino regained her fighting spirit. She would win. That night, Makoto received messages from many people, all asking why he took a leave. Messages from people like Yumiko, Akika, and Hayato didn't surprise him. But Utaha also actively checked in on him. "I had some ideas I wanted to discuss with you, but you weren't at school." Makoto looked at the chat text and thought his senior probably wanted to ask him for advice. Just freeloading knowledge. "How can I keep letting you freeload every time? If this keeps up, how can I keep checking your academic progress?" Makoto typed back, "Next time, definitely next time." Utaha on the other end looked puzzled at her phone. Why did he refuse outright? Chapter 73. Yukino is very aggressive today. After school the next day, Yukino went home first to change clothes and tidied her hair in front of the mirror, wondering if she should try a new hairstyle. Just as the thought came up, she immediately realized. She was here to talk about serious business, not to think about hairstyles. Yukino looked at her flawless reflection in the mirror with mixed feelings. Is my self-control getting worse? No, it's just that someone disturbed my heart. Yukino decided not to think about hairstyles and left wearing a simple long dress. Though she had only been to Makoto's house once, she already knew the route very well. Even she was a little surprised herself. Am I seriously memorizing his house's route so I can visit often later? Yukino didn't dare think further along this line, fearing she would lose control of her emotions again. If she messed up the rhythm before even seeing him, how could she win against him? After adjusting her mood, the girl set out. But she didn't arrive smoothly. Near a street corner by Makoto's house, she saw him crouched by the roadside, holding a shopping bag in his left hand, and using his right hand to pet a chubby orange cat. Maybe his technique was good, because the orange cat didn't struggle but comfortably squinted its eyes, occasionally making soft, cute meowing sounds. Your voice doesn't match your body at all. I thought you'd have a deep and powerful voice, but you're just a little guy. He muttered. Meow. Yukino watched Makoto muttering and felt an urge to cover her forehead in disdain. You're really boring, complaining to a cat. Even a cat lover like herself only quietly exchanges a few words with cats. She simply walked up to him. As she got closer, she immediately noticed Makoto's eyes shifted to her pure white legs beneath her skirt. A familiar and perfect leg curve. He even commented. Yukino expressionless, do you always look at girls' legs first? You're such a pervert. Makoto didn't look up. You're overthinking. I just noticed you earlier. Earlier? I seriously doubt you're telling the truth. If I hadn't noticed you earlier, how could I have borrowed the neighbor's boss's orange cat? Makoto said as he shook the cat's paw at Yukino. Come on, Momo, show Miss Yukinoshita your special skill. Momo is its name? Yukino looked at the chubby cat in confusion. Makoto understood and laughed. I'm surprised too. The name doesn't suit its appearance at all. At first, I thought it was called Gastang. Yukino gave him a "you're so stupid" look, gracefully smoothed her skirt, and crouched down to gently stroke the cat's head. Feeling the touch, a faint smile appeared on her face, and she even became more interested in chatting. You borrowed it in advance just to wait for me? Makoto admitted, yes. Unconsciously, Yukino looked at his face. Then may I ask, how did you know I'd be going out at this time? Makoto sighed. Dear Miss Yukinoshita, you asked a dumb question. Yukino put away her smile. Speak normally. The answer is, I know you're always punctual. Oh. Yukino didn't continue the topic, so as not to let him brag about how well he knew her again. Honestly, it felt bad being so thoroughly understood. Especially since he's the one she really wanted to beat. Whether in academics or conversational rhythm, she wanted to win against him. At that moment, Makoto stood up. Want to see his special skill? What special skill? Yukino looked up in puzzlement. Makoto snapped his fingers. The orange cat, originally lying on the ground, suddenly jumped and performed a backflip under Yukino's curious gaze. However, because of its weight or maybe not enough preparation, the backflip failed, and it fell flat on the ground. Yukino was stunned but couldn't help smiling. Interesting. Makoto took out some pet treats, and the cat happily ate them, then lay back down. Watching this, Yukino couldn't resist and reached out to pet the cat's head again. Did its owner teach it that? Yeah, I talked with the shop owner earlier. He said this orange cat used to be very agile, and a backflip was no problem. Makoto crouched down again, reaching toward the cat. Yukino thought he was petting it, so she didn't pay much attention. Until she suddenly felt a hand on her knee. The girl immediately shot a death glare. Sorry, I forgot to turn off the auto-aim, Makoto said as he put his hand on the cat. Yukino looked annoyed. When will you change your perverted habits? What's perverted about boys liking legs? Makoto asked back. At least in my impression, normal boys wouldn't so openly tell girls they like their legs. Makoto laughed. Then may I ask, Yukino, how many male friends do you have? Yukino replied calmly, I do only have you as a male friend, but that doesn't mean what I just said is wrong. Fair point, looks like I didn't think it through well enough. Makoto nodded. Yukino looked at him in surprise. This guy actually didn't continue arguing with me like usual? Makoto seemed unaware, casually petting the cat for a bit, then got up by himself and said. Someone's feeling very aggressive today. Looks like they want to take control. I'll hold back for now, avoid the spotlight. Yukino also stood up, her beautiful smile cold and without warmth. That's right, that's exactly what I was thinking. But Makoto didn't respond. Let's go, let's head back first. Yukino followed his steps, keeping that smile. You've backed down twice in a row now. Haven't figured out how to respond yet? Makoto suddenly smiled. So that's what you think? You're a bit naive, Yukino. Yukino felt something strange about his smile but replied anyway, if you only say things like that, then I'm even more convinced you're not ready. Before she could finish her victory declaration, a middle-aged man wearing an apron ran over. As soon as he saw the fat orange cat on the ground, he immediately shouted at Makoto angrily, Makoto, why are you secretly feeding my orange cat again? It's already so fat. Run. Makoto grabbed Yukino's hand and quickened his pace without another word. Behind him came the man's helpless shout, you're running away again. How many times has this been? Yukino didn't even care about Makoto holding her hand this time. She asked in surprise, didn't you say the orange cat was borrowed from you? Yeah, because this shop owner's store is near my house. We've known each other for a long time. So I borrowed the cat to stake you out early, but he didn't agree. Makoto said matter-of-factly. Yukino was silent for a moment, her tone strange, so basically, you just took that orange cat by force? Not by force, it's a strategic borrowing. You saw just now, the owner knows me. I did see that, but I also noticed from his words that the reason the orange cat is so fat is because you often feed it? I think more than that. Makoto paused, then smiled as he raised her soft hand. What I'm more curious about is, today you were clearly very aggressive, putting on the attitude of I absolutely won't let you take advantage, but now, it seems like you still didn't guard yourself, huh? Yukino's face hardened, she quietly tried to pull her hand back. But Makoto held it tightly, she couldn't pull away. So Yukino gave up struggling. At the same time, she turned her gaze away, no longer making eye contact with Makoto. Because she was afraid that if they kept looking at each other, this guy would find out that she actually didn't dislike holding his hand. Not only didn't she dislike it, she even kind of liked the feeling. So she chose to hide it. She thought he didn't know. He pretended not to know. After they got home and just sat down, the doorbell suddenly rang. Yukino ignored the sudden quickening of her heartbeat from holding hands earlier and asked, did you invite someone? No. Makoto shook his head. It's probably Mayu-sensei. Earlier when I came home, she was still chatting with Hiratsuka-sensei at school. She should be back by now. Yukino responded with a no. Losing interest. Makoto went to the door and looked outside through the peephole, then froze for a moment. The person outside was not Mayu. It was Akika. Chapter 74, Swimsuit culture is quite civilized. Makoto really didn't expect Akika to come, and the timing was perfect. Yukino had just entered and sat down when she arrived. Through the peephole, Makoto noticed the exquisite shopping bag in Akika's hand, which seemed less likely to contain food and more likely clothes or something similar. He opened the door and met the girl's beautiful smile. "Why did you come over without saying hello? It's more surprising this way." "Don't you like surprises, Makoto?" Akika teased with a smile. She habitually started to tease him. "I do like surprises, but if it's just you showing up suddenly, that surprise isn't big enough." Makoto calmly pulled and stepped aside to let her in to change her shoes. "Huh? Why isn't it big enough?" "Because before you came, someone else already arrived." "Who?" Akika, who was about to change shoes, suddenly looked up. Though she kept smiling, an alarm went off in her heart. Makoto gave her a hint. "You're in the same club with her." "Yukino Shida," Akika quickly answered. Since Itsuki was still at home before leaving, it couldn't be her. Seeing Makoto nod, she continued changing her shoes and teased. "Looks like I really came late. Having such a beautiful girl like Yukino Shida show up on her own is a surprise for any guy." Without waiting for Makoto to respond, she stood up smiling brightly. "But it's fine, we're good friends. Even if you're with other beautiful girls, as long as you have time for me now and then, I'll be happy too. I haven't even started brewing tea, and the aroma is already floating out." Makoto suppressed a laugh, pretending to be serious. "Got it." Akika thought her teasing had worked and blinked cutely, asking, "Got what?" "You just said that you're actually just a normal friend to me. Only like that would you be so generous to let me meet other beautiful girls?" Makoto said. Akika. Uh-oh, didn't expect this move. How do I respond? She was still feeling proud of her clever teasing a second ago, but now she was easily countered by Makoto. Seeing her expression, Makoto knew she hadn't thought of a counter. He sighed on purpose. "Looks like I was just wishful thinking. I used to think you had a strong possessiveness." Akika couldn't think of a comeback, so she just smiled and rolled her eyes. "You talk too much." The two went into the living room, and she generously greeted Yukino. Her beaming smile made it seem like they were really good friends. "Good afternoon, Akika." Yukino responded flatly. Since Makoto said he hadn't invited anyone, Akika came over secretly. A beautiful, well-proportioned girl visiting a boy's house without prior notice. What does that mean? Yukino felt a little uncomfortable again. Did Yukino Shita come here to see Makoto about something important? Akika asked naturally, sitting next to Yukino. Yukino remained calm. Sort of important. "Can you tell me?" "No." "Oh, then I'll ask Makoto." Akika smiled after speaking. Yukino's expression didn't change at all. She knew the other was being deliberate. Just like when they first met, she wanted to change the topic by teasing Yukino Shida. "But unfortunately, your level is too low." Yukino sat steadily in the living room, her elegant legs neatly closed, sitting upright with the attitude of "I'll just quietly watch your performance." Akika's eyes flickered, expecting Yukino to stop her or chat more so she could keep going. But Yukino's calm demeanor pressured her a bit. In gaming terms, her current thought was, Yukino Shita's health bar is really long. Meaning Yukino Shita was unaware of her thoughts, or else she would have lightly said, "Since when did you get the illusion you've seen my health bar?" Meanwhile, Makoto, brewing tea on the side, was even calmer. This kind of beginner-level love triangle he was not worried about at all. He brought tea and snacks casually and said, "Yukino Shita's aunt called me for dinner today, so Yukino Shita came early. She doesn't want me to say something wrong later." "I see." Akika acted like she understood but thought, "So these two have met each other's parents too?" She said too because Makoto has met Nakano Maruo before too. "By the way, Akika, why did you come today?" Makoto seemed to remember just now. Akika smiled. "Of course, I came to hang out with you, but you have business today, so I have to leave soon." "You haven't eaten yet, right?" "Yeah, I was actually going to ask you to eat together." Akika said this, sticking out her chest a little, her beautiful eyes sparkling. She was hinting for Makoto to invite her so she could join Yukino's family dinner. After all, if elders from other families were there, it would be a bit rude to ask to tag along on her own. She quickly met Makoto's gaze, her expression working hard, almost making him laugh. "Right then," Yukino suddenly said lightly, "if Akika wants to join us, I suggest you give up." Akika turned her head, showing a confused face. "Why?" Yukino said calmly, "My mother probably wants to talk privately with Fushimi today, and those private matters are something I don't want others to know." She spoke very directly. Akika smiled, "But last time I saw your parents chatting happily with my father, so I thought maybe Yukino Shita's aunt would like to know me too." "She does want to know, but I don't want my family matters to spread," Yukino said straightforwardly. At that moment, Makoto interrupted, "In that case, Next time we'll invite everyone, so it can be livelier. Yukino looked at him coldly, her eyes questioning, "What are you doing?" Just as Makoto was about to speak, Akiko laughed twice. "Alright, Yukino Shida, if you feel it's inconvenient, I won't come this time." She even gave Makoto a sweet, obedient smile. The meaning was, "See how sensible and obedient I am?" This time Makoto couldn't help but laugh out loud. He could naturally tell Akiko was deliberately performing for Yukino. But it was too obvious and too deliberate. Really funny. Likewise, Yukino could see through it. She furrowed her brows slightly but said nothing, picking up the tea and taking a small sip. Then she noticed that Akiko beside her was staring at her. Is something wrong? Yukino turned to face Akiko, meeting her gaze openly. Akiko quickly glanced at Makoto, who had turned around to grab the remote control, then fixed her eyes on Yukino and quietly said, "Amaterasu." Yukino. After saying that, Akiko seemed to struggle to keep a straight face and immediately bent down to pick up her bag. "Oh, by the way, I brought a special outfit today because I want you, Makoto, to take some nice pictures of me." "Oh? What kind of outfit?" Makoto came back holding the remote and casually turned on the TV. Akiko's adorable one-piece swimsuit makes a dazzling appearance. Akiko actually pulled out a one-piece swimsuit from her bag. And it was the standard type used for swimming lessons. Paired with her lively smile and energetic voice, it was quite cute, to be honest. But Yukino didn't find her cute at all. Not only did she secretly come to a boy's house, but she also brought a school swimming lesson swimsuit. That was basically rubbing it in her face. Yukino thought, looks like she's not like her four sisters, not that reserved. She didn't come here just to visit. She came here with intentions. That was Makoto's thought. Actually, I have an even cuter swimsuit, but it's inconvenient to bring it here, so I'll show you another time. Akiko held up the swimsuit in her hand as if she was simply showing off the cuteness of the swimsuit, not deliberately showing it to Yukino. Makoto gave a thumbs up and sincerely praised, "Compared to bikinis often seen on TV, I actually prefer one-piece swimsuits." "Really?" "Absolutely, one-piece swimsuits are civilized." Chapter 75, Do you want to touch it? Akiko had obviously come prepared today. Otherwise, she wouldn't have brought the school swimming lesson one-piece swimsuit. A girl with her well-developed figure wearing a one-piece swimsuit would definitely create a huge visual impact. Just imagining that scene was a bit risque. That's why Makoto said the one-piece swimsuit is civilized. He checked the time deliberately. Even if he took several more photos of Akiko, there would still be enough time. "Makoto, please." Akiko still holding the swimsuit, her face showing a shy girl's unique blush and an unsure, perhaps acted, anticipation. "You already took nice photos of Nino and Itsuki, so you can't leave me out." Yukino, who had been silent all along, suddenly interrupted. "Wait, I talked with Itsuki. She said you two took photos together at the bookstore before." That's when she realized Makoto's photography skills were so good. Akiko smiled warmly. "Yeah, but I want photos with a different style." Yukino raised an eyebrow. "Different style?" Akiko nodded cheerfully. "Although Makoto's photos look great, all of our styles are the same. That can't satisfy what I want." Yukino didn't reply but glanced at Makoto. "What do you think?" "There's enough time," Makoto answered. Yukino wasn't surprised. She could even imagine that even if there wasn't enough time, Akiko probably had other reasons. Thinking carefully, a girl with such a sexy figure wearing a one-piece swimsuit would definitely attract any boy's attention. Wait. Yukino suddenly found a blind spot. She instinctively looked at Akiko's expectant face. For her to so openly show off this style of swimsuit, could it be that she wanted to flaunt her figure in front of me? When Makoto went back inside to get the camera, Yukino asked, "Akiko, can I take a look at your bag?" "Bag?" "Sure." Akiko handed it over generously. Yukino peeked inside. Sure enough, there were two more outfits in there. And both were normal types. Not that the swimsuit itself was abnormal. But for a girl to suddenly pull out a swimsuit at a boy's house for a photo shoot, that was very unusual. Akiko choosing the swimsuit over the other two dresses in her bag already said a lot. Yukino maintained her calm expression and decided to see how things would develop. Makoto came back with a camera, and Akiko went to change in the bedroom. He muttered to himself, if Akiko wants photos in a different style, she should have told me earlier. Time is a bit tight today, which affects my performance. Yukino's beautiful eyes glanced at him. Do you really think that? Why not? Makoto looked over. Yukino's gaze was cold and emotionless. I have reason to doubt you're lying. Why? No matter how you look at it, the happiest person about Akiko changing into a swimsuit should be you. After saying this, Yukino was about to observe Makoto's reaction and see how he would reply. Unexpectedly, Makoto fell silent and gave Yukino a strange look. He looked at her for nearly 3 seconds, and Yukino couldn't help but ask, "If you have something to say, just say it." Makoto pinched his chin as if thinking, "So this is what you look like when you're jealous." Then, to Yukino's stunned expression, he praised, "I have to say, it suits you." Yukino's chest heaved. "I've discovered another one of your stupid sides." Stupid? Guessing a girl's feelings on your own and acting so sure about it. That's stupidity, isn't it? Or am I wrong? This time Yukino didn't respond. Jealous? She could deny it. But the uncomfortable feeling inside was real. Soon, Akiko came out of the bedroom. She really changed into that swimsuit. And now she looked a bit flushed, shyly stepping forward with her long, white legs. Makoto and Yukino could both tell she wasn't faking it. After all, the school's swimming classes were segregated by gender. When wearing this swimsuit at school, she was surrounded by girls, so she naturally wouldn't feel awkward. But today was different. Neither Makoto nor Yukino could hide their gazes since she came out of the bedroom. Makoto was admiring. Yukino's expression was neutral. It was hard to guess what she was thinking. "I feel like I might be a little impulsive." Akiko walked up to them, her blush deepening. This one-piece swimsuit fit her body perfectly. Without socks or any cover, her pale legs were fully exposed. The shapely calves, full and rounded thighs, delicate white feet, all unobstructed. Most importantly, this type of outfit was hard to wear with underwear. Otherwise, straps and marks would be obvious, making it look unattractive and even ruining the swimsuit's silhouette. So the conclusion was that Akiko was not wearing underwear. This outfit perfectly showed off her curves, and combined with her shy blush, who could resist? Absolutely perfect? Makoto gave his highest praise. Akiko immediately beamed happily. "Really? That's good. I was a little embarrassed to come out after changing." Then she turned to Yukino. "Yukino Shita-san, what do you think?" She took 2 steps forward. Makoto felt dizzy. As for Yukino, she was much colder. "Before I answer your question, may I ask if you genuinely want to hear my opinion or if you just want to flaunt your figure?" "Can it be both?" Akiko responded generously. "I always think that girls having a good figure is something to be proud of. It's definitely worth being proud of. But if you want to show off to me, I can only tell you this, it's just useless fat. I never care about that, nor do I have the energy to care about meaningless things like that." When Yukino said this, her tone and eyes were as cold as ice. After seeing through Akiko's intention to get close to her face, she showed her own aggression. She had just been silent, saving her strength. "Yukino, what you said is biased," Makoto interjected. Yukino crossed her arms and shot a sharp gaze at him. "If you want to make comments from a guy's perspective, I have no interest." Makoto thought, "I'm a man, so of course I'm looking at this from a man's perspective. You're not going to ask me to say, how can you assume my gender? Are you?" At that moment, Akiko approached Yukino and suddenly bent down. Yukino leaned back uncomfortably and looked up. "What are you doing?" Akiko smiled sweetly. "What you just said was interesting. Can I understand it as you actually care, but just don't want to admit it?" Yukino, as if unable to stand it, groaned. "Did someone infect you? How can you say something so stupid?" Akiko's smile didn't change. "If it's Yukino Shita-san, I can let you touch." Yukino was stunned. She thought her ears were malfunctioning. Akiko noticed her reaction and continued, "I think we're friends, so if you want to touch, I don't mind." "Makoto, I mind." This time Yukino really couldn't take it anymore. With a cold expression, she reached out and pushed Akiko's face away. At the same time, she said with extreme coldness, "If you really want to take pictures, please don't waste time. Fushimi and I are about to go out." After saying that, she looked impatiently at Makoto. "You'd better hurry up. Don't waste time." "Understood." Makoto made an okay gesture. Akiko immediately felt a bit disappointed. Couldn't she even expose a weakness this way? Yukino's calm and unflappable attitude, as if she could never be broken, really made Akiko feel it was a tough challenge. Akiko had another idea. If later I deliberately let Makoto touch my body and guide me to pose, would she show a side of herself that's angry and off guard? Just as she was eager to try, Yukino's cold voice rang out, "Your expression is very rude." She reined in her thoughts, and before she could speak, Yukino stared straight into her eyes and said coldly, "I'm reminding you, don't keep testing the edge of self-destruction." They were all in the same club, usually got along fine, and she was quite close with Akiko's sister, Itsuki, so Yukino didn't want to cause a scene for now. Such a strong aura. Akiko was stunned. But then Makoto's voice came, "Yukino means she wants to wear a school swimsuit too." Yukino glared. That one sentence shattered the aura she had just gathered. But then she thought of something. This guy never hides his thoughts about me. So when he said that, did it mean he really wanted to see me wear a school swimsuit? Yukino thought it was very likely. Just as Akiko was walking away, she saw Makoto make a mouthing gesture at her. It meant, I want to see. I guessed it right. Yukino rolled her eyes disdainfully but didn't even bother to reply this time. You want me to wear a swimsuit for you? In your next life? Yukino thought resolutely. During the rest of the photo shoot, Makoto was completely in work mode. Just like he had said before to Nino and Yumiko, photography is an art. Of course, this was only one reason for his serious attitude. The other reason was that Yukino had been watching closely the entire time. That focus, that expression. She was exactly like a wife watching her husband. Even Yukino herself hadn't noticed this. Chapter 76. Yukino wants to improve too much. The photo shoot was originally suggested by Akiko, and Makoto was happy to cooperate seriously, helping the girl get a few more satisfactory shots. However, now the initiator, Akiko, felt very uneasy. She did pose beautifully under Makoto's instructions, showing the lively charm of a youthful girl. But the problem was, I don't want you to be this professional, Makoto. And Yukino next to us, why are you folding your arms the whole time, occasionally showing a thoughtful expression and nodding? It felt like I was really a model. Makoto was the photographer, and Yukino was the fashion magazine editor-in-chief. That's not the kind of shoot I wanted. I came here seeking excitement. Akiko forced a smile but felt very frustrated inside. She had even brought out her trump card school swimsuit, wearing no underwear, just pressing it lightly. Her good figure was so tempting but still failed to break Yukino's defense. She ended up being just a model to be manipulated. She remembered that Makoto took photography very seriously, so she couldn't interrupt him now. It was definitely a case of biting off more than I can chew. Finished shooting. As Makoto put down the camera, Akiko hadn't even spoken yet when Yukino stepped forward. Let me see. Akiko pouted, thinking, what role do I even have right now? Makoto seemed unaware and asked Yukino, what do you think? The skill level is high, and Akiko didn't make any mistakes. Yukino said, resting her chin on her hand, still in that serious thinking pose. Makoto caught her meaning, you want to learn this? Yukino calmly replied, I'm just somewhat interested for now. In that case, you'll have to be my student. No one's better suited to teach you. Makoto said, leaning back playfully. Sorry, if I want to learn, I can manage on my own. But that's less efficient, and I don't think you'd like that. Yukino was speechless. Actually, she learned quickly, but Makoto had a treasure that excited her. A time loop. Although she didn't know when the time loop would come, the fact that he could keep his memories from the loop was irresistible. Last time in the time loop, she was not only learning photography from Makoto but also privately doing practice problems. All to become a natural exam genius again and take first place in the grade. In other words, as long as Makoto was willing to keep her memories, her progress in the time loop would be comprehensive. For a girl eager to improve and change, the attraction was huge. Their conversation caught Akiko's eye again, making her unhappy once more. Just as she prepared to interrupt, Makoto came over with the camera. You can take a look too. If there's anything you don't like, point it out so we can see if retouching is needed. Oh. Akiko nodded. Yukino stopped paying attention and went to the restroom. At that moment, Makoto laughed softly. You look a little unhappy. Akiko gave a half smile and said, you're chatting and laughing with another girl while I'm just an audience. I'm definitely jealous. She directly said the word jealous. Though her tone sounded like a joke. This was actually her habitual way of teasing, to both her sister and Makoto. Makoto lowered his voice, such a pity today. What's a pity? You're dressed so brightly, but I didn't get to shoot the photos I was hoping for. Akiko, trying to hide her shyness, teased boldly, what kind of photos do you want to take? Makoto didn't answer, lowered his head, activated auto-targeting, and aimed his eyes. Akiko instantly understood. Last time at the massage, she absolutely couldn't wear underwear. You're such a pervert, Makoto. Akiko blushed but continued teasingly, it's really a pity, but even if it is, it can't be helped. You meeting alone with Yuki Noshita at home makes me unhappy. Makoto, but you said before you didn't mind? Akiko gave a charming smile, I do mind. Got it. Without another word, Makoto took her hand and walked toward the bedroom. Akiko panicked, wait, what are you doing? Come on, we're going inside. Next, we do a private shoot. No way. Private shooting just sounds bad. If Yukino sees it, I'm done for. Akiko blushed and forced herself to stand still, glaring at Makoto in embarrassment. Then she couldn't help but laugh and muttered, really, I know you're joking. I should have taken the chance to scold you loudly. Makoto looked puzzled, When did I say I was joking? Akiko sulked and slipped into the bedroom. High attack, low defense. Yukino happened to come out of the restroom, wiping her palms, and calmly said, "Finished your little chat?" "Almost," Makoto admitted. Yukino glanced at the closed bedroom door, about to say something, but then saw Makoto staring straight at her. Strangely, she felt a bit flustered. But she kept calm. "What?" Makoto said nothing, just sighed. Yukino snorted, "If you're not going to say it, then don't." She had just sat down when Makoto's voice sounded from behind, "When will you wear school swimsuit for me?" Yukino's hand holding a cookie stiffened, and she said calmly, "In your dreams." "Oh wow, the second young lady is getting tough? Hope you can keep this tough attitude when we meet alone," Makoto thought. After the photos, Akiko changed back into her original clothes. Although she wasn't fully satisfied because Yukino had been here, Makoto's mention of a private shoot proved her guess was right. "I'm actually very charming." Akiko thought that the next time, if there's a chance, a private shoot wouldn't be so bad. After all, she was already embarrassed at the massage last time. After they went out separately, Makoto followed Yukino to a high-end restaurant. Not long after they sat down, Mrs. Yukino Shita, wearing a sleek black dress, arrived. The born model figure of the Yukino Shita sisters was clearly inherited from her. The well-tailored long dress fit perfectly on this mature woman, and the belt cinched at her waist clearly showed she maintained strict control over her figure. The dress was conservative in style, with a hem almost covering her calves, only revealing a bit of skin above the ankles. It was precisely that slight exposure of skin at the hem that allowed one to notice her wearing high-quality skin-colored stockings, paired with high heels, making her figure appear a bit taller. "Makoto, you go ahead and order. Let me know what you like," Mrs. Yukino Shita said warmly after sitting down. Makoto picked up the menu and gestured to Yukino, "What do you want to eat?" Yukino was still a bit reserved in front of her mother. "Anything is fine." Makoto looked up and said, "You know, answers like anything or whatever can definitely be headache-inducing for most people. This guy is deliberately picking on me in front of my mother." Chapter 77, Yukino wants to improve too much, too. My bad, it looks like I skipped a chapter. Thank you Dark Crow for telling me. Yukino suppressed the urge to elbow him. She reached out, took the menu from his hand, and checked off a few dishes she liked. Mrs. Yukino Shita's smile visibly grew when she saw this. While waiting for the food, it was mostly Mrs. Yukino Shita and Makoto chatting. She was very talkative and extremely intelligent, always finding topics to keep the conversation going and giving responses that Makoto could easily reply to, ensuring a pleasant atmosphere. After a while, Mrs. Yukino Shita brought up a girl she was concerned about. "I heard from Hayato that you have many friends at school, and quite a few female classmates you're close with. Hayama still likes to tattle?" Makoto teased. Mrs. Yukino Shita smiled. "Of course not. That kid is quite precise with words. If I hadn't specifically asked, I wouldn't have known about you." She generously admitted it was her responsibility. Makoto didn't deny it. "Hayama is right. Do you know Sawamura Eri?" Mrs. Yukino Shita asked casually. "Met her, but not well." "Oh, she's quite outstanding. I've met her family at a gathering once. She's a very pretty girl. I heard she has great talent in painting and is already one of the best among her peers. That so-called loser saint really is good at drawing, though the subject matter might surprise you." Makoto thought this silently and said, "You mentioned Sawamura specifically, so there must be another reason? You're still so clever." Mrs. Yukino Shita looked at her daughter and Makoto, elegantly covering her mouth as she laughed softly. "I was thinking that if you two are really close, when you meet her parents, I could help highlight your good qualities." She added with a smile, "Just like you said before, you want me to treat you as a friend. Well, friends should help each other." So well spoken. Even though she was fishing for information, she could say it so beautifully. Makoto thought to himself and gave a hint, "I've heard some things about Miss Sawamura Sayuri before, but I can't confirm if they're true." "Oh?" Mrs. Yukino Shita's eyes brightened with interest. Makoto said, "As far as I know, she seems to be a fan of two-dimensional culture. If you want to find common ground, you could start from that." "Two-dimensional?" Mrs. Yukino Shita's eyes showed clear surprise. Yukino, who had been silent, lowered her head and sipped her tea. Seeing such an expression on her mother's face was rare. And honestly, interesting. As for what Makoto said, Yukino believed it. Others might not know, but she knew Makoto could gather intelligence during the time loops. In terms of information gathering, in Yukino's mind, Makoto was the best. Yukino would never underestimate Makoto's intelligence network. JPG, is that really true? I spent some time with Sayuri but never saw her show that kind of interest. Mrs. Yukino Shita doubted. Of course, you wouldn't see it. If I told you their real hobbies, your expression would be priceless. Makoto smiled. I said I'm not sure if it's true, but it's credible. You might want to give it a try. I see, I'll keep that in mind. Mrs. Yukino Shita made a decision in her heart. She continued, by the way, I heard your photography skills are amazing? Yukino and I haven't taken photos together in a while. Would you be willing to take a picture of us? Yukino was a bit surprised. Her mother looked at her. Yukino, what do you think? I don't mind. Yukino quickly nodded. But what she thought was, I still have a lot to learn. Makoto just helped her mother, and in return, her mother immediately praised his photography skills and even suggested a photo together. Regardless of whether the photo turns out well, her mother would surely give high praise. If the photo turned out especially good, her mother would probably compliment it even more, giving high emotional value as an elder. Yukino tightly held her teacup, feeling complicated. She thought about herself. Whenever Makoto helps her, she always thanks him sincerely, thinking that next time if he needs help, she'll return the favor. That approach is fine. But an immediate reciprocity approach is not only more appropriate, it also deepens their relationship and gives emotional value. She still had much to learn. I want to improve. Yukino glanced secretly at Makoto. She wanted to go back into the time loop to learn more. But if she did, she'd probably end up getting leg played by him again. No. He probably also wants to see her wear a school swimsuit. Life is tough, Yukino sighed. She didn't dislike one-piece swimsuits, but she disliked wearing them just for boys. Even if it's Makoto, she'd feel uneasy. Who knows if that guy would start touching once he looked too long. Once that happened, Yukino would become water under Yukino. After a pleasant dinner, Mrs. Yukino Shita proactively handed over her phone, and with Makoto's help, mother and daughter took 3 family-style photos. Makoto carefully found good light and angles, and all 3 pictures captured a very warm family vibe. Are they really that good? Mrs. Yukino Shita looked at the photos, her surprise genuine. Makoto sincerely said, it's because you and Yukino are naturally photogenic. You're always so smooth. Mrs. Yukino Shita smiled wider, put away her phone, and said to Yukino, I'll send the photos to you later. Yukino responded with a hum. She could tell her mother was truly happy. Before parting, Mrs. Yukino Shita said to Makoto, if there's another chance, Makoto, how about you take photos for me again? I could invite some friends, many of them really love beauty and selfies. Is she introducing me to rich women? And more than one, Makoto couldn't help but think of the wire scrubber joke. After parting ways, Makoto and Yukino walked home together. The girl was silent, obviously preoccupied. He took the initiative to break the silence. What are you thinking about? Yukino hesitated, looked at him for 2 seconds, then finally spoke her mind. Can I come with you on the next time loop? Makoto instantly laughed. You want to improve again? Yukino said calmly, is wanting to improve wrong? Of course not, but you were still too reserved just now. I told you. Makoto said while lightly patting Yukino's back. Cheer up, second miss. Yukino couldn't help glaring at him. You're itchy-handed again, huh? Makoto said, I'm encouraging you, with actual action. Yukino couldn't hold back and decisively elbowed him. Makoto didn't dodge, he was the elbow king. Passers-by saw this scene and thought this handsome couple was really sweet. Makoto walked Yukino to her apartment door. It was still early, 3 minutes to 7. Well, I'm heading back too. Makoto waved and turned. Yukino unexpectedly said, I thought you'd ask me to hang out at my place like before. Makoto quickly turned back, then let's go. Yukino. Did I not think this through? She said somewhat disdainfully, you really don't hide it at all. Straight talk. That's the style you like, right? Makoto replied. Yukino was taken aback, then suddenly smiled, that's true. Makoto walked beside her. The two walked side by side, close enough only lovers would be. Yukino's lips curved, her eyes filled with a charming, gentle smile. This guy is always so easily attracted by my charm. I'm never any less than the Nakano family's 5 tigers. Chapter 78, got kissed again after entering the room. Yukino was about to make tea when Makoto stopped her. No need for tea. Let's talk? Okay. Yukino was curious about what he wanted to talk about, but just as she was about to sit down, she suddenly stopped and stared at him without blinking. What are you looking at me for? Makoto sat down on the single sofa, puzzled. Yukino looked perfectly natural. I suspected you'd sit here with me. She meant the spacious 3-person sofa. Without giving Makoto a chance to reply, she turned and grabbed an apple, skipping tea, and started peeling it. Can I cut it into small pieces? Makoto suggested. Yukino glanced at him. That look said, you have way too many issues. Alright. She still agreed. Thank you. Makoto admired Yukino's fair and flawless hands as he spoke. What do you think Andy's real reason was for calling me to eat today? Yukino raised her head suspiciously. Didn't mother already ask? She thought you knew that Sawamura Ariri. Not just that. Makoto pointed his index finger in the air lightly. Actually, she's concerned about you. Yukino was momentarily stunned. Makoto continued. Though she didn't say it outright, I guess she's not only worried about whether you can shoot that short film well but also about whether our relationship is still as good as before. Yukino was about to object, but he picked up his phone and motioned, don't rush, just look at this message. Yukino glanced over, and to her surprise, her mother had sent him a text. The time was 5 minutes ago. The message read, seeing that your relationship with Yukino is still so good, I feel relieved. Makoto's reply was, probably because she and I get along well. Mrs. Yukino Shida, get along well? That phrase can have many meanings if you try to understand it. Makoto, are you asking if I plan to pursue Yukino? Mrs. Yukino Shida, I haven't thought that far yet, but if you plan to pursue Yukino, I can support you as a friend, not as a senior, but as a friend. Instantly making the conversation more casual. Yukino fell silent. Makoto put down his phone. For a high school student to shoot a short film, even if it's shorter than usual, it's still not an easy thing. Yukino softly hummed in agreement. That's why mother doubted whether I could do it well last time. Now the chance is right here. As long as you keep your mindset steady and finish shooting the short film smoothly, she will definitely be satisfied. So confident. Yukino looked at his face. I've been studying this for quite a long time, plus you, Akika, and Itsuki. The 3 fierce warriors. And my friends at school making cameos. It's hard not to be confident. Though I don't really like the word fierce warriors, thanks for trusting me. Yukino returned a very beautiful smile. Earlier, her mother's concern was all about benefit. Which honestly made her feel rather complicated. Now, with Makoto openly revealing his intentions, his words practically implied, he would help her throughout the whole process. The complicated feelings in the girl's heart suddenly cleared away the clouds and let her see the warm sunlight again. Here you go. Yukino put the sliced apples onto a plate and handed it over, then picked up another apple to peel. Makoto didn't hold back, stuffing a piece of apple into his mouth. How do you think I should reply to Andy next? Yukino smiled calmly. Aren't you always bold? Oh, you want me to tell her, I will pursue you relentlessly? You can take out the word relentlessly. Then I'll pursue you with great intensity? Idiot. Yukino couldn't help but scold him. Her mood completely relaxed, and her voice softened a lot. Fushimi, you should still remember what I told you, right? Yeah, you'll never fall in love with me. Makoto nodded first. But I always thought people can change. Yukino looked him in the eye generously. Too bad, I won't. Then the girl saw Makoto pick up his phone, his finger tapping on the screen as he obviously started typing. She was stunned. What are you doing? I'm going to tattle. Idiot, I'm talking seriously. Her face instinctively showed anger, and Makoto quickly raised his phone and snapped a photo of her face. Now Yukino reacted. He's teasing me on purpose again. Yukino put down the fruit knife and glared at him angrily. Delete that photo. Okay, it's already deleted. Makoto nodded. How could Yukino believe that attitude? Her originally relaxed legs now pressed firmly against the floor, and her body sat up straight. Yukino gathering strength. JPG. So Makoto took another photo. Yukino completely lost it and got up, walking quickly over, but wisely didn't try to snatch the phone directly. Instead, she pressed firmly on Makoto's arm to stop him from escaping. But the moment she pressed down, she found that Makoto didn't resist at all. No, it wasn't that he didn't resist, he seemed weak, and just leaned back with her force. Because of inertia, Yukino's slender body staggered, and just as she was about to stabilize her balance, a hand appeared on her delicate waist. The next moment, she was pulled into Makoto's embrace. The scent of fragrance surrounded her, and Yukino's perfect face was close enough to touch. Makoto clearly saw her small face turning red little by little, even her snow-white and elegant neck skin flushed with a tempting rosy glow. You're doing it on purpose again. Yukino's voice suddenly became muffled. Don't misunderstand. Makoto wasn't doing anything improper, he just fed her a piece of apple. At once, Yukino's expression became even cuter. Cute. Makoto let out a wicked laugh. Yukino's chest rose and fell quickly because she was completely pressed against Makoto's chest. Her hands had to support his chest to avoid them sticking completely together. Even so, her pure white legs pressed tightly against Makoto's legs, and because of this posture, her skirt lifted slightly, revealing round and fair thighs. One slipper on her left foot was missing, while the other was still hanging on her right foot, ready to fall at any moment. This scene might have made an onlooker think Yukino was imitating Mayu, preparing to act out a female knight's charge. No more feeding. Seeing Makoto picking up another piece of apple, Yukino blushed and warned him. Then, she watched Makoto put the apple into his own mouth, looking confused as he said, "I'm eating my own. If you want some, get it yourself. I've already fed you once, which is plenty for a friend." Yukino decided to hit him. Unfortunately, Makoto anticipated her move. The hand around her waist loosened slightly, and the unprepared girl stumbled forward. Though Yukino's hands were still pressed against Makoto's chest, his sudden preemptive move caught her completely off guard. As the saying goes, the hardest strike to defend is the first frame. Not to mention, Makoto liked to play silky combos. "Let go." Yukino's voice became muffled again. But this time, it wasn't the apple blocking her mouth. It was Makoto's lips. Feeding you apples was a lie. In an instant, the sweet taste of apple exploded. Yukino was completely unprepared and defenseless, caught totally off guard. This guy is doing it on purpose again. Why didn't I stay alert? Yukino scolded herself inside. But she also knew that Makoto wasn't using the same move and that he knew her very well. Everything about her. Of course, she couldn't defend precisely. Interestingly, although her eyes clearly showed a mix of embarrassment and anger, her heart didn't necessarily feel that way. Sweet isn't quite right, but at least she really didn't dislike it. She even thought, apples really are sweet. Dodge? How do you dodge a zero-frame start? Run? How do you run from silky combos? With a thud, her only slipper fell off. Those beautiful legs Makoto coveted so much tensed up. White socks covered her feet, hiding the well-cared for skin. But her feet were completely tense, even the socks formed an adorable shape. After a while, their eyes met, and the whole living room fell into extreme silence. Yukino's cheeks were already covered with a tempting blush, the anger in her eyes vanished, replaced by embarrassment, shyness, and a final trace of hidden pride in her heart. She gathered that pride, preparing to counterattack once and then escape from his embrace. Only that way could she quickly regain her composure. But at that moment, Makoto held her waist again and asked, "Can I do it again?" Yukino froze. Her pride wanted her to resist. But her true feelings wanted her to continue. She struggled silently for 3 seconds. Those 3 seconds felt like a century. In the end, she lowered her eyelids and said nothing. Her lack of resistance spoke volumes. Makoto kissed her once more. This time, Yukino's arms didn't fight back at all. Gradually, those delicate hands secretly and carefully wrapped around Makoto's waist. "I really can't push him away," Yukino thought, her gaze becoming hazy and dreamy. As for whether she was unwilling to push him away, or simply too weak to do so, only Yukino herself knew. Their foreheads pressed together, noses touching, and the pleasant fragrance from her completely enveloped Makoto. Her skin was fair and flawless, but at this moment it was like the twilight stolen from the horizon, igniting the afterglow of the setting sun. The clouds, melted into fiery red glass, all became the blush blooming across her face. Their warm breaths mingled, and Yukino's previously tense, restless small feet finally found the safest place. She sat down in his arms. Yukino was already deeply immersed, and the little restraint she had left was thrown away. Thrown far away. After who knows how long, the two finally separated again. Afraid he might pull some sudden trick, she blushed and struggled to get up from his embrace. Makoto didn't continue, he cooperated by letting go. Just as he released her, she almost went weak-kneed and fell onto the sofa, but luckily she caught herself in time, barefoot on the floor. The cold floor couldn't chase away the flush and warmth on her face. Not only was her face burning hot, but her heart as well. Her gaze flickered away, avoiding eye contact with Makoto. Her moist eyes blinked repeatedly like ripples and splashes on the sea, quickly spreading from her brows and eyes, clearly revealing her shyness. There's a saying, when people feel awkward, they always appear very busy. Yukino turned her head, quickly put on slippers, and started to walk back. After returning to her previous seat and sitting down, she was dazed for a second, not knowing what to do. So she casually picked up the fruit knife, intending to continue peeling. Then she realized the apple had already been cut into small pieces, making peeling inconvenient. She put down the fruit knife again, her delicate hands interlaced on her abdomen, trying to do something to ease the awkwardness, but there really was nothing to do. At that moment, she noticed Makoto staring at her. She turned her head and caught him suppressing a smile. Such a face begging to be slapped. "Sorry, I admit I was too sudden," he said, then couldn't hold it and laughed out loud. "You're just a bit too cute." Still calling her cute? Yukino glared at him in embarrassment and anger. "I refuse to accept your apology." "Then how about I show my apology with action?" Makoto stood up. Yukino suddenly got clever, and couldn't keep a serious expression. Sit back down. Makoto obediently sat down, looking like he was waiting for her orders. Yukino stared at him for a while, then finally looked away, as if scolding him but also blaming herself. Don't do that again. Her voice was very soft. Soft enough that Makoto almost couldn't hear. After she finished speaking, Makoto answered decisively, I disagree. Yukino, who asked you? Chapter 79, 79, floor-to-ceiling window or God may you after being kissed again, twice in fact, Yukino was completely intoxicated and couldn't calm down anymore. She really wanted to find a topic to talk about, hoping to ease her embarrassment. But Makoto wouldn't cooperate. This guy was really bad. Very bad. She shyly took a bite of the apple. He said she was cute. She pretended to watch TV, trying to divert her attention. He said again that she was cute. No, didn't I already know whether I'm cute or not? Why do you have to say it? Yukino pursed her lips tightly, her cheeks flushed red. Actually, she was quite happy to be sincerely praised for being cute. I should get going. Makoto's voice interrupted her thoughts. Yukino looked up, instinctively wanting to ask, so soon? Luckily, she stopped herself and changed to say, I'll see you out. Makoto stopped at the door. No need to walk me downstairs, you'll save yourself from changing shoes. Yukino looked at his face steadily, and apart from this interjection, she really didn't know what else to say. Hope the filming goes smoothly, don't worry. Makoto said. Yukino was a little stunned, her eyes softening as she said, that's for sure. Makoto left. Yukino didn't close the door right away but peeked out until his figure disappeared down the hallway before she went in. Looking back at the living room where she was alone again, Yukino suddenly felt a bit uneasy. After all, she had been alone for many years. She stood still for a few seconds, then quickened her pace toward the balcony. She could still just see Makoto's figure. She was so absorbed watching him. Then, she saw Makoto turn around. Yukino quickly came back to her senses, thinking he might have guessed she'd come to the balcony. She instinctively straightened her small waist and struck a serious pose. But she soon remembered, unless Makoto had eagle eyes, he couldn't see her expression clearly. So what was he doing? Under Yukino's concerned gaze, Makoto walked straight back into the hallway. Not what she expected. Yukino hurriedly left the balcony and almost ran to the door. Could it be that this guy hadn't kissed enough and was planning another trick? That was absolutely not allowed. Yukino took 2 deep breaths, tidied her bangs, and patiently waited. Sure enough, the doorbell rang soon. She opened the door calmly. What's up? Only she knew that when she saw Makoto, her heart was pounding wildly. When I was feeding you the apple just now, I accidentally left my phone on the sofa. Makoto patted his empty pocket. Oh, I'll get it for you. Yukino responded lightly. At the moment she turned, she let out a breath. But inexplicably, she felt a little disappointed. After all, it wasn't only Makoto who enjoyed the kiss just now. She did too. After getting the phone back and handing it to Makoto, she asked, Is there anything else? No. Makoto said, then as if remembering something, by the way, I suspect Auntie might contact you later, so remember to stay sharp this time and don't lose face. Yukino found that hard to believe. I don't think my mother would call me. Makoto hesitated, maybe because I know her better than you? Yukino immediately looked down toward the shoe rack. Makoto, what are you going to do? Yukino, I'm seeing which shoe would hurt more if I throw it at you. Makoto slipped away. Bang, Yukino closed the door again. She rubbed her temples, murmuring, Is she really my mother, or yours? Why do you talk like you know her better than I do? Yukino obviously didn't believe it. But at 9 in the evening, Mrs. Yukino Shita really did call. Yukino, just out of the bath wrapped in a towel, hair unblown, answered the call hurriedly, surprised inside. Why are you calling? Did Makoto send you home earlier? Yes. Yukino thought to herself, not only did he send me home, he sent himself into my mouth. That boy chatted with me on the phone for a bit. When I asked if he had thought about pursuing you, he asked me if I would really support him. Mrs. Yukino Shita said. Yukino suddenly became alert. This was a message she hadn't seen before. She didn't speak, keeping silent. Mrs. Yukino Shita continued, that boy seems to have many secrets. Indeed, many, such as maybe harassing you in a time loop. Yukino thought. I actually investigated his family situation and contacted his parents with your father. I found they're just ordinary people, nothing like they could raise someone as mature as Makoto. If that's the case, then how did he know I was so anxious about that business, and how did he manage to help me so easily? Listening to her mother's calm and somewhat puzzled voice, Yukino hesitated, unsure how to respond. She didn't want to lie. but wanted to keep Makoto's secret. Fortunately, Mrs. Yukino Shita thought Yukino's silence was because she didn't know, and chuckled softly. I actually called for no other reason. Regarding the short film your club is making, do your best to make it great. She paused, then added. You are my daughter. If you, as a high school student, can really make a good short film, it means you have been trying hard to improve without me knowing. Yukino tightly gripped the phone, earnestly said, I will do well. She thought of the promise Makoto had given her earlier, and couldn't help but add, I definitely can do well. The lady on the other end of the phone, Mrs. Yukino Shida, laughed, then I'll patiently wait for your club's work. After hanging up, Yukino stared blankly at her phone. She still opened Makoto's social media app, her slender fingers tapping the screen. Next time there's a time loop, I want to be together, she had said this before. But now, she was even more eager. In less than 10 seconds, Makoto replied, good luck. This time it was a serious response. Yukino's lips slowly curved upward. That meant he agreed. She thought for a moment, then walked over to plug in the hairdryer, editing a message, is there anything I can do? She recalled what her mother had done before. Timely feedback was the most valuable. Makoto sent a message, check your legs? Yukino's smile stiffened, alright, let's end that topic here. She put down the phone and muttered lightly, idiot. After drying her hair, the girl went to her bedroom and threw off her towel, revealing skin that had been carefully cared for over the years, pure and flawless like jade. She chose a camisole nightdress and put it on, the hem covering down to her knees. Then she sat on the bed, bending her fair legs into a very cute duck-sitting posture, raised her phone, and took a photo of herself. She clicked send. No way would she send a leg photo. But this photo she could send. Holding the phone with a smiling face, she somewhat looked forward to the reply. While waiting, she thought of Akika. Though Akika always tried to test her, constantly making moves to break her defenses, her level was too low. Even though Yukino still insisted, never fall in love with him. That did not mean she had any worthy opponent in her eyes. She was very confident. Yukino waited, and after a full 3 minutes, Makoto still hadn't replied. She was puzzled and edited a message, did you not check your phone? Makoto, sorry, I was busy earlier, Yukino? Makoto really was busy. Not the unserious kind. He had returned the borrowed motorcycle. After replying to the earlier message, he kept typing, this is a photo worthy of being a wallpaper, Yukino, I disagree, obviously, she thought such a thing was too showy. Not long after Makoto got home, Mayu came over. Worth mentioning, she wasn't just wearing a nightdress, she was wearing black stockings. Not pantyhose. But garters. The moment Makoto saw her epic outfit, he knew she definitely came to charge a fee. Paywall entrance, Route 1, busy. Route 2, busy. I don't care how busy, I'm squeezing in. Shizuka's condition has mostly recovered, but I'm a bit worried. If she fails another blind date next time, she might be like this again. Mayu sat in the living room talking to Makoto, her worried expression completely unhidden. So Makoto found it hard to keep a straight face. Ah, Hiratsuka Shizuka, even saintly Matsuke's Mayu knows she won't get married. She looked worried and said, I won't end up like this, right? Makoto stared into her eyes, why don't you ask again? Eh? Mayu didn't understand. Makoto, I mean, ask again and I'll prove it with action. Mayu blushed and smiled. This time she felt reassured, leaning sweetly against Makoto, her hair falling like a washed black river of light, gentle as water under the bright lights. She had no intention of leaving now that she had come at this hour. Though she actually worried a bit about their age difference. But her worries came and went quickly. As long as he graduates, that's enough. Mayu thought this way. So she came even though it was late. After the first experience last time, a mature woman like her obviously wouldn't be satisfied with just once. Once they tasted it, they always wanted more. Scented by fragrant wind, she and Makoto sat close, her body leaning slightly to the side, the camisole straps, less than a finger's width, immediately loosened and with a slight tease slid down her smooth, rounded shoulders. Just one glance at this scene would make anyone imagine what enchanting sights would follow once those straps slipped off. Though a bit short, her figure had incredible curves. No excess fat, only alluring charm. Moreover, she had come prepared today. Do you still have the Red Bull you gave me last time? Under the night sky, she asked softly with sleepy eyes. Makoto was stunned for a second. You come with black stockings, full of fighting spirit, and now you want to use props too? I have it. I'll go get it. Makoto stood and walked to the fridge, pretending to take out a bottle of powerful Red Bull. When he turned back, his eyes met Mayu's shy yet seductive gaze. He glanced at the bright floor-to-ceiling window, handed her the drink, then walked over and drew the curtains tightly shut. Makoto's original intent was that it was already night, so the curtains should be closed. But Mayu thought, he's not taking me to the living room? After drinking the Red Bull and feeling energized, she shyly transformed from a bathroom goddess to a floor-to-ceiling window goddess. The only difference was, the window goddess wouldn't slip because the floor was too slippery. Chapter 80. The Makoto guards and the Makoto family. A few days later in the afternoon, Makoto was chatting casually with Itsuki in class, while partly paying attention to several boys in front of them laughing and joking. Those boys somehow got 2 sheets of bubble wrap. At first, only one was squeezing it in his hands, which attracted the attention of his friends, and soon others gathered around. My father already said that everyone will have dinner together today. Fushimi, you'll come too, right? Itsuki's attention was fully on Makoto, her beautiful eyes full of anticipation. I'll definitely come to Mooch dinner, Makoto shamelessly declared. Itsuki smiled happily. Welcome to Mooch dinner. Are you specially welcoming me, or are you speaking for everyone else? Makoto suddenly asked. Itsuki was stunned, her face slightly flushed. Of course everyone welcomes you. As she spoke, she realized she was too shy and it was inappropriate, so she decisively shifted the focus to her older sisters. Like Akika, Nino, they all really welcome you. Oh right, Yotsuba too. She has a good impression of you. Makoto put on a thoughtful look. So, that means only Miku doesn't welcome me? Well, not really. Miku usually doesn't talk much, but she's actually a very gentle person. Maybe she's secretly paying attention to you. Itsuki's honest nature came out as she quickly explained. Then she hesitated and said, but my father is a very serious person. If he says something that bothers you, he means no harm. Please understand. Makoto stared at her earnest little face for a moment, then suddenly smiled. You were just praising Miku's gentleness, but actually you are the gentlest of the 5. No way. Itsuki's cheeks turned even redder, but her smile brightened a lot. At this moment, those boys squeezing the bubble wrap made a crackling noise again, attracting many students to look over. Itsuki was drawn too. That's bubble wrap, right? Why do boys like playing with this stuff? She then glanced at Makoto in front of her, thinking he was more mature and wouldn't do such childish things. However, as soon as she had that thought, Makoto stood up. Under her puzzled gaze, he walked toward those boys and waved to Hayato, who had already heard the noise. Wanna join? Sure. Hayato smiled and came over. Itsuki. With the 2 of them joining, more boys gathered around. Some weren't even interested in bubble wrap, but since the atmosphere was lively, joining in was fun. Boys in puberty were always full of energy. Yumiko held her pretty face, expressionless. Why did Makoto also go over there? She turned to Itsuki, who was also dazed, and secretly wondered, does Itsuki-san care about Makoto more now? Is it just my imagination? She had noticed the friendly conversation between Makoto and the others before but hadn't interrupted because she was chatting with friends. Now seeing Itsuki also watching closely, she couldn't help but suspect. They were classmates and saw each other every day. Yumiko often paid attention to Makoto, so she was the one who could most keenly feel Itsuki's changes. By the way, Yumiko, the photos you shared on social media are really beautiful. Did you hire a professional photographer? A friend said enviously. Yumiko couldn't help but feel proud and raised her pale chin. Yes, he's really professional. Can you share a little info? The girl was a bit embarrassed. I want to shoot some nice photos to keep too. That's definitely not possible. Without his permission, I can't just reveal his info. Yumiko said this, thinking to herself, how could I share my private photographer with you all? Although everyone went to the park together last time, Hayato took the initiative to take their friends elsewhere to play, so they didn't see how good Makoto's photos were. Because the photos Yumiko shared were of such high quality, everyone in the comments was saying they must have been taken by a professional. Naturally, her friends thought the same, and since Yumiko herself was deliberately keeping it a secret, no one suspected Makoto. Is that so? The girls beside Yumiko all showed disappointed expressions. Then someone said, wait, since you said that, does that mean you're really close with the photographer? Yumiko kept a proud smile, of course. So the beautiful photos you took aren't just the ones you shared on social media, right? I guess there are even better ones? Yeah, maybe even some more intimate private shoots. Listening to her friends teasing with laughter, Yumiko was actually stunned. Private shoots? That's not a bad idea. Not only could she further show Makoto her charm, but it could also strengthen their relationship. Besides, with her looks and figure, a private shoot would definitely be especially appealing. Yumiko turned to look at Makoto, her beautiful eyes sparkling continuously. If everyone got along better, maybe she could get her own private photographer sooner. She had been seriously researching online these days. Finding a photographer with high skills not only costs a lot of money, but they might not even want to shoot for you. The most important thing was to be wary of ill-intentioned people. It was rare for her to find someone her own age who was a master photographer, and also had looks and physique that fit her aesthetic. With a normal teenage girl's vanity and love of beauty, Yumiko definitely didn't want to miss out. After school, in the club activity room. Akiko hadn't arrived yet. Yukino was quietly talking with Itsuki. Their relationship was improving quickly. Just like Makoto said, Itsuki, who treats everything seriously, actually got along very well with Yukino. And Yukino admired that kind of girl. Since the kiss incident the other day, Yukino had adjusted her emotions with strong mental resilience. Even though she met Makoto at school every day, she no longer showed any unnatural expressions. Only when she occasionally saw Akiko did an inexplicable feeling of resistance arise inside her. Being inexperienced with love, she didn't fully understand that this resistance actually contained multiple emotions: guilt, embarrassment, and annoyance. Because she knew Akiko liked Makoto. Chapter 81, The Makoto Guards and the Makoto Family, 2, nearby. Makoto listened to their conversation while replying to Yumiko's message. She wanted to ask him out for another photo shoot again. This made Makoto feel a bit strange. He had just taken many good photos of her last time. Logically, no matter how much she loved beauty, she wouldn't be in such a rush to want new photos. Something was off. Definitely 9 or 10 parts off. Makoto wanted to probe deeper, so he replied on his phone that he'd be free to shoot in a few days. Yumiko readily agreed. After a while, Akiko arrived. She greeted everyone immediately with her signature smile upon entering. When it was Yukino's turn, Akiko suddenly smiled and said, "Yukino-shita, why are your lips so red?" Even though the kiss incident was a few days ago, Yukino's calm little face still wavered for a second upon hearing this. Makoto remained calm. He guessed that Akiko's comment was probably a joke she picked up from classmates or online. "What are you talking about?" Yukino immediately regained her composure, her tone calm. Itsuki curiously looked at Akiko. Yukino-shita's lip color looks pretty normal. "Akiko, are you sure you saw it right?" "Hee, I saw a joke online, and since Yukino-shita obviously put on lipstick today, I just used it," Akiko said with a mischievous smile. "You're really boring," Yukino said, not bothering to look at her anymore. But when she lowered her head, she quietly loosened her clenched fist. "Did I really have a stupid moment too? That guy kissed me just a few days ago. Even if he kissed hard and caught my tongue, that couldn't possibly affect me for this long." Yukino was somewhat annoyed at her own emotional fluctuation. She shouldn't have been shaken so easily. It's all that bastard's fault. The angrier Yukino got, the more unfriendly her gaze became as she looked at Makoto. "Did you bring Red Bull today?" "I did." Makoto pretended to pull out a can of strong Red Bull from his pocket. Yukino took it and divided it into 4 portions. The next moment, she looked expressionlessly at Akiko. "I was just talking about study problems with Itsuki, and she told me you 5 all have pretty bad grades." Akiko felt uneasy. "What do you want to do?" Yukino liked her reaction, although compared to Itsuki,